This is CBN Newswatch, because truth matters.
CBN Newswatch, weekdays at noon on the Dove TV.
A ministry moment on the Dove.
Don't necessarily think that all that you need to do is to follow your heart. Our hearts mislead us. A number of years ago, I was at the Lake of the Ozarks, and I was lying on a blow-up mattress on a lake, and I closed my eyes for 10 or 15 minutes, and then when I opened them, it took me a while to get my bearings because I had drifted off far from where I had begun. Don't simply drift in life. I think, for example, of Jonah. He could have said to himself, well, it must be the will of God for me to catch this ship on its way to Tarshish because here I am at Joppa. There's a ship that is waiting. I have money. Don't think to yourself that just because you follow your desires, you may be doing God's will. Always remember that God's will especially is found in the lives of those who genuinely seek it.
A ministry moment on the Dove.
Romans 1:20 tells us God's power is revealed in creation. Yet 2 Corinthians 4:4 reminds us that Satan has blinded many to the gospel. At the Life Outdoors, we've seen the truth of God, His eternal power and divine nature displayed in every mountain and stream. Follow along and let's wake the wild within. The mountains don't lie. Where there's truth, there's Jesus.
Gordon Robertson and Terry Mewson bring you the 700 Club. Watch weekday mornings at 11 on the Dove TV. Encouraging and informative.
Today's going to be awesome.
All right, good morning to you. Yes, we're like bad habits. We return.
Well, some folks were wondering,
I don't care
think,
how much you fight your bad habit, they come back. Anyway, good morning to you. Welcome to Mornings on the Dove. And the only thing I can say is we're sorry for not being able to be on the air. Everything was thrown at us, and we're still got a lot of problems.
Yeah.
We got some power outages at quite a few of the outlets. Some of you guys were literally snowed in. I couldn't get him. In fact, the power line went down across our road. I couldn't cross it.
No kidding.
Yeah.
Oh,
and so I was stuck.
Whoa.
The town was stuck. When I finally got out a little bit yesterday and looked around, nobody was open.
No.
You know.
Yeah.
And so
they're not coming up and picking up garbage. Nothing.
Nothing.
Yeah.
So it is not a good situation yet. And then with these temperatures, this morning it's a little warmer. Actually, 33 is warm compared to where we've been. But it is very still icy and slow going out there. Mm-hmm. So for those of you watching outside of the Rogue Valley, we got hit, and we got hit really significantly. I would say this is one of the biggest ones in quite a few years.
I think so. We have never, I can't remember ever taking 2 days off because of snow here.
We couldn't function. We couldn't do anything. It was a nightmare. But anyway, the airport is open. I-5 over the Siskiyou and up over the Medford Pass, the Grants Pass there. Mm-hmm. That's all open, but icy. Very icy this morning. So icy. You have to bear with us because we have to make shift here this morning. But let me just give you the list of the schools that are closed.
Okay.
Ashland, Butte Falls, Klamath Falls, Medford School District, Phoenix Talent, Prospect, River Edge Academy, Rogue River School District, Rogue Valley Adventist, Three Rivers School District, and St. Mary's, all closed. Central Point, Eagle Point, and Grants Pass are going to be operating on a 2-hour delay. That's just the schools. Okay, so we know that some services, like your garbage, is not going to get picked up. The mail is going, and I will say that how that mail person got up to our driveway, I have no idea.
Yeah. you know the old saying.
They'll chain up.
Yeah, you
bet.
bet.
I was driving around, and fire trucks were all chained up.
Oh, yeah.
So anyway, bear with us, but here we are. We're back at somewhat limited conditions. We still have some power outages at tower sites, and so I say pray for us, obviously, but we're not alone. A lot of people are being impacted by this, and so we'll do our best to keep you up on it. In spite of all that, anything special today?
Yeah, it's National Optimist Day. What a day for it, huh?
Okay, we need it. We need it.
Well, we look to the future with hope, and on Optimist Day, we celebrate the volunteers who share their enthusiasm, skills, and talent to make tomorrow a vibrant and peaceful one, and especially tutoring and mentoring younger generation coming up. And we have optimist, perfect day for it. You will may be optimistic that you're going to get to work today. Also, it is National Chopsticks Day. How about that? People worldwide celebrate the humble and ancient utensils on this day. And around 1200 BC, Chinese cooks began using chopsticks not to eat with, but to prepare food. These tools were likely long enough to reach into hot cooking pots. Then around 400 BC, when fuels for cooking became scarce, food was prepared in smaller pieces, reducing the number of resources needed to cook it. At that same time, the need for sharp eating utensils faded and shorter chopsticks entered the scene. But that didn't happen in Europe. They kept eating with their hands. And so anyway, do you like chopsticks?
Yeah, I do. It took me a while to figure it out.
Oh yeah, well yeah, you gotta play with them and figure out the balance points.
You
and
got to
stuff.
find the balance point, and
And
it's hard having soup with chopsticks.
Well, speaking of which, it's hard to have our food of the day with chopsticks. Today is National Frozen Yogurt Day.
Okay.
So enjoy that.
Wow.
The sweet frozen dessert's gone from fad status to a staple freezer item in just a few decades. I remember when frozen yogurt first came out, the biggest brand then was Dannon.
Oh, that's right.
Dannon frozen yogurt. It was a craze with the fruit in it and stuff. Oh, it was fabulous.
Yeah, people went for it for a while. It's kind of calmed back down a little bit, but still very good.
You know, that's interesting you say that, because here it says frozen yogurt is again making a comeback as consumers have begun to prefer the tart taste of yogurt. Not only does it find its way into home freezers, but also a sweet stop after work or play. So if you're not stopping at Starbucks or something, that's when you get yourself a frozen yogurt and enjoy.
Well, you can just stand outside with some snow in your hand. Well, okay, good stuff all the way around. Well, drive carefully, obviously. Plan some extra time this morning. I didn't plan for that, and I kind of got caught. I mean, I just got in here a few minutes ago.
I got to tell you the truth, that it was weird walking across the parking lot and see your truck coming in behind me.
Behind you.
I was shocked. I looked and said, is that you?
Yeah, it is, and it took me like 0.00 miles per hour to get down the icy spot of the hill, you know. I just didn't, you know. Anyway, here we are, singing in the kitchen, beating on the pots and pans. Good morning to you. Let's check out the weather. Let's see what's going to happen here. We check in with Mr. Yogurt himself.
As systems continue to move across the Pacific Northwest, today in northern Oregon and southern Washington, a slight chance of snow showers, then partly sunny with daytime high temperatures in the low 40s for Vancouver, Portland, Wilsonville, and McMinnville with a light north wind. Continuing down the Willamette Valley with a slight chance of rain and snow, then mostly cloudy and low 40s for Salem and Albany. A chance of rain and snow in Corvallis with a high near 39 and Eugene near 40. In central Oregon, a chance of snow in mid to upper 30s for Prineville and Bend. Snow likely in Sun River with a high near 33 with lows in the teens. Over in Boise, Idaho, cloudy and low 40s. Along the Oregon coast, showers likely mainly before 10 a.m., then a chance of rain after 1 with daytime highs near 46 for Coos Bay, Port Orford, and Brookings, and near 49 in Crescent City, California. In southern Oregon, a chance of rain and snow, then rain after 1 p.m. for Grants Pass, Medford, and Ashland with highs near 39. In the Klamath Basin, snow showers with highs in the mid-30s. Into northern California, a chance of snow, then rain and snow and near 37 in Wairika. Rain showers for Redding and Chico with daytime highs near 47, and Sacramento near 52 with a light southeast wind. In the Bay Area, rain and patchy fog before 10 a.m. for Santa Rosa and Napa with daytime highs near 51. Rain in San Francisco with a high near 57 and a light east wind. And today in San Jose, rain with a high near 58. It's a look at your Thursday weather on the Dove.
Okay, there we go. That is a little bit of fog now over the top of us, which is typical.
It looked like my driveway the other day.
Yeah. You know, there's just, it's just interesting.
Whoa.
And you know what's so interesting to me is that people get down on bare pavement and they think it's a 103-degree day.
Yeah.
They drive crazy.
I got to tell you,
They're crazy people out there.
4 or 5 inches of fresh snow on the road has more traction than when it's plowed and you're down to the ice.
Well, it's just,
honestly.
yeah.
Yep.
So anyway, good morning to you.
Good luck on your way in.
There you go.
Be careful.
Be careful.
Well, did you know, what a concept, did you know that God knew you before the universe ever existed?
Yeah, that's a scripture that's kind of mind-boggling.
That just takes brains and bends them when you think about it. Pastor Jack Hibbs is here to explain.
In Romans chapter 8, verse 28, the Bible says, "For we know that all things work together for good to those who love God, to those who are called according to his purposes." Listen, "For whom he foreknew, he also predestined to be conformed to the image of his Son, that he might be the firstborn among many brethren." Listen to this. "Moreover, whom he predestined, these he also called, and whom he called, these he also justified, and whom he justified, these he also glorified." Friends, what does that mean? It means this. It means that God, before there was ever a Jupiter, a Mars, the sun, the physical universe, before there were ever angels created, God in his eternal existence knew in his mind, based on his foreknowledge, that he would know you, that when the gospel would be presented, you would either say yes or no. He knew that before time ever began. He doesn't make you make a decision. He just knows in advance that you're going to make a decision based upon his gospel message. Joshua said, "Choose today whom you'll serve." That is in perfect harmony with the sovereignty of God.
Well, there you go. I knew you before your mother and father ever got together.
Amazing, yeah.
Amazing.
Yeah.
You know. So, human life have value?
Yeah. Yeah, great point.
Oh, yeah, all my points are great.
Well, yeah.
Especially when I'm tired. I sound like Trump, don't I?
You know, look how Schumer's got you in his crosshairs.
I have to tell you, I tell you one thing when you're snowed in.
Yeah.
I absorb more media than I normally do. Only because there's a reason for it. So
all right.
I'm surfing all the channels. I'm looking at everything. I'm looking at everything from how people talk to what sets look like, the whole nine yards.
Sure.
So I'm bouncing in and around. But I have to tell you, by last night, I was trumped out. No matter where you went, you bumped into this guy.
That's too good.
Yeah, so I say that respectfully. Don't send me a letter. I'm okay. It's just that it was a little overwhelming. And so much going on that the new press secretary, she said, look, the legacy media can't keep up with them.
Right.
They don't know what to do. And, of course, the Democrats are over here having all kinds of hissy fits. And they're doing their demonstrations. The only thing I can say is keep it up.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Don't get it. Yeah. Continue to not get it.
All right, so let's take a look at some of the top stories. The big one is President Trump over the over this past couple of days, especially with his joint conversation and news conference with Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu. He said, quote, "The United States will take over Gaza Strip, and we will do a job with it. We love it. And be responsible for dismantling all of the dangerous bombs and other weapons on the site and get rid of and destroy buildings and create an economic development that will supply unlimited number of jobs and housing." Well, it rocked the world. Now, let's play the clip. Here's the president.
The U.S. will take over the Gaza Strip, and we will do a job with it, too. We'll own it and be responsible for dismantling all of the dangerous unexploded bombs and other weapons on the site, level the site and get rid of the destroyed buildings, level it out, create an economic development that will supply unlimited numbers of jobs and housing for the people of the area. Do a real job, do something different. Just can't go back. If you go back, it's going to end up the same way it has for 100 years.
Well, even this took Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu a little bit by surprise. Now, apparently there was discussion about the idea.
Okay.
But President Trump comes out and jumps on it and goes in front of the press with it.
Of course,
So let me ask you this. Let's kind of roll with this, okay, because it's pretty explosive. Is this like, we need to buy Greenland?
Sounds a bit like it, doesn't it?
Shouldn't we make Canada state number 51?
Yeah, what about Panama Canal?
Shouldn't we just kind of overtake the Panama Canal? So let's go into Gaza and we'll clean it. I'm surprised that there hasn't been a cartoon out with him in a hard hat driving a D8 pushing some concrete around.
Oh yeah, that would be perfect. Yes, perfect.
I mean, that's got to come in the future. Well, anyway, I have to tell you, interesting. The only ones against this are the Palestinians, and the Saudi Arabia's not too happy with it. Egypt's not too happy with it.
Yeah, I would imagine.
But most of Israel and the people and some of the Gazans are thrilled by the idea. So what's really in the mind here?
Yeah.
Do we know yet?
I don't think so. No.
Okay.
Yeah.
Well, anyway, watch that one. Film at 11.
All right.
Okay. Well, look, another campaign promise kept. This was big. President Trump on Wednesday, no men in women's sports.
Hot dog.
Here he is.
Yeah.
With this executive order, the war on women's sports is over. Under the Trump administration, we will defend the proud tradition of female athletes, and we will not allow men to beat up, injure, and cheat our women and our girls. From now on, women's sports will be only for women. With my action this afternoon, we're putting every school receiving taxpayer dollars on notice that if you let men take over women's sports teams or invade your locker rooms, you will be investigated for violations of Title IX and risk your federal funding. There will be no federal funding. So when the Olympics comes to Los Angeles in 2028, my administration will not stand by and watch men beat and batter female athletes, and we're just not going to let it happen, and it's going to end, and it's ending right now, and nobody's going to be able to do a damn thing about it, because when I speak, we speak with authority.
Okay.
Well, listen, this is big. It has flipped the left out so far that they can't even see straight. God bless them for this one. This is long overdue.
Yes.
How it ever got as far as it did ought to tell us how asleep we really were.
Right.
And we ought to wake up to the fact that there's this enemy out there that's against anything that is God created, which is pretty much everything. And the natural order of human life is certainly that. And to think that there's groups of people that want to alter that, and somehow they're bigger and smarter and more determined than God is, you're messing around with creation. You're messing around with God, obviously. You're devaluing of all the things he created. There's only one thing that he created in his own likeness and image, and that's human life. So this is a really huge step. Now remember this, ladies and gentlemen, it's an executive order. It's only going to be in place for 40 years. It's whether or not these new people coming in who are going to head up these agencies will be able to implement it in a policy inside the agency.
Yeah. Well, and good news from the NCAA, because they are responding positively to it and saying they will adapt.
They better.
Yeah, yeah.
So in the meantime, the president's getting his cabinet slowly through. RFK Jr. came out of committee with pretty much party line vote. So he'll go to the floor in a week or so for a full vote. But Pam Bondi became the new Attorney General over the last couple of days. And here's a little bit of her being sworn in. Justice Clarence Thomas did the swearing in. That's her husband and her mother. In the audience were her family and her pastor.
Oh, wow. Okay.
And isn't it wonderful, ladies and gentlemen, to see a lot of the people in high government wearing crosses?
Yeah, yeah.
Have you noticed it?
Yes, I have.
And even on the air, on some of the news cycles, some of these people are wearing their crosses.
Good, yes.
Well, anyway, she wasn't in office 10 minutes. I think she shook everybody's hands and went across town and got to her desk because she started immediately putting out some special orders, including orders to combat weaponization of the legal system, make prosecutors seek the death penalty when appropriate, and work with the Department of Homeland Security to completely eliminate cartels. and transitional criminal organizations. That was just hours on the job. Okay, and she's going to DEI. Okay.
Yeah.
Now, the question is, will she do to the DOJ what is already happening at the FBI? And that is, you can leave or be fired.
Yes. Yeah.
You can take your retirement now or get fired.
Didn't they do that over the CIA as well?
And the CIA.
Yeah.
And this other thing, USA, big thing over the weekend that became the laundry list of nonsense spending. That is being shaken up, and the list of money that went through the USA, what's it called? The USA aid.
Oh, yeah, yes.
The US
right.
aid.
Yeah.
US aid, excuse me. The A is aid. US aid. Did you see the list?
Yeah, I did, yeah.
It is
right.
staggering.
Yeah.
You know, we always complained about the $1,000 hammer in the military.
Yes.
You ought to see
that
this
was nothing, yeah.
We're talking billions of dollars going to other countries to promote basically LGBTQ and trans agenda.
Right. And
all
now,
paid for by our tax dollars.
And we see the left is just becoming unglued because this is coming from Doge. This has come from Elon Musk. And they think he's the shadow president. But is anybody trying to defend these expenditures?
Well, look, the more they run them on the screen, the worse it gets.
You can't defend them.
No. So this is, look, isn't it interesting? People run for public office saying they're going to do all this stuff.
Yes.
And they never do it.
And they never do it.
You get a president in there, he's doing it within the first 3 weeks of his presidency, and even Republicans are upset with him.
Right.
And yet you ran on doing this yourself.
Yes.
So, look, he may not be the most charming guy in the world, but he is certainly getting the job done.
Right. And there's something else going on. We're not getting major headlines on this, but federal employees who've been working at home for years now, they're being told either you come back to work or you take our buyout, and it is causing more than ripples throughout federal employees across this country right now.
Well, listen, all the demonstrations against anything that would be conservative, righteous, and common sense are from federal employees.
Absolutely.
Or state employees.
Oh, yes.
Or county employees. Because they got, don't get me wrong, there's good people everywhere.
Absolutely.
We're doing broad brushing here. But look, the covers have been pulled off, and here we go. And it's
it's a new day.
It's not first 100 days. It's almost like the first 100 hours. It's just
well, yeah,
great.
you know, in fact, he actually got started before he was sworn in.
So, I don't care. The show's blown today.
Yeah.
Anyway. I got to be careful here because it's amazing how people listen to what they
hear.
Listen. They listen to what they want to hear, and what they don't hear, what they want to hear. All of a sudden, I guess we fell off the wagon and we're
something like that.
Yeah. So anyway, but have we ever seen anybody in politics run their department like a business? Until now.
No, never.
Now we have a businessman running the country, and guess what he looks at? ROI.
Yeah.
Return on investment. He looks at balance sheets. He looks at profit and loss. And the only thing Musk is, he's not elected, but it's no different than me hiring an outside person to do something I want him to do.
Yeah.
And we have quite a few outside contractors.
I got to tell you the truth. I've been seeing this protest against Elon Musk and the government, saying a billionaire has weaseled his way into the government, and he's a shadow leader in the government. And then I see these pictures of young Soros with every major Democrat leader in the country saying, say what?
Yeah. Well, guess what? I think at the end of the day in the midterm elections, it's going to be Elon Musk versus Soros Jr. Trying to help people get elected.
Absolutely.
It's going to be their money.
That's a great point, yes.
So while you're bashing Elon,
Soros,
you're going to get him so ticked off, he's going to come in and put money in your opponents.
Well, let's be honest. The Soros organization has done way more in funding the people that they want elected into office. Way more.
Okay.
Oh, my goodness.
Gosh, we've been snowed in too long. We'll be right back.
Isn't it good to be out?
Because of your love, our hearts are clean. We lift you up.
It can be puzzling assembling all the right pieces for your insurance needs in retirement. I'm Michelle Slate. Lighthouse Financial shines guiding light on retirement, investing, and insurance. Guiding you through the stormy seas of insurance, Lighthouse stands out as a beacon of hope, offering you wise counsel and biblically responsible investing. Lighthouse Financial. Call us today, 541-494-1034.
You feel most alive where you feel most at home. And this is living. Bobcat, the company that changed the way the world works, is coming home with a quality compact tractor built to match your quality of life. This isn't work you have to do. It's work you get to do. So get it done in a tractor that's all you. See your dealer or visit bobcat.com.
Before the big game, join us for inspiring Super Bowl stories from the best teams in the NFL.
When it comes to this game, how does your faith help keep all of that in perspective?
I want God's will to be done. I want God to be glorified.
I don't play this game for anything else but the man up top.
I can't be ashamed to give him all the credit.
For God, all things are possible.
Watch the 700 Club Thursday morning at 11 on the Dove TV.
Hello, everyone in Dove Land. My name is Todd Friel, host of Wretched TV, inviting you to join us for Wretched, the TV program I host. If you have evangelism heebie-jeebies, you're terrified to share your faith.
Hey, welcome back. Yes, we're live. We're here.
We're back.
I apologize for some of our outlets that we're still having power problems. We're doing our best. We're at the mercy of everybody else that has power problems and trying to recoup from this storm. We're not used to 12 inches on the valley floor.
It's been tough, yeah.
And some of the outlying areas, one of our, Logan in there, his house got 3 feet. I can't even imagine what's at the top of Mount Ashland. And they've been closed because of power outage and a water problem.
I want to imagine
what's on it. You know, you probably will have to sit down on the chair when you ski up to get on it.
Yeah.
Your skis will be out in front of you.
You know, that's a good point. Plus, you don't think about what chairlift operators have to go through to get something for you to sit on the chairlift. They got to snow off.
Yeah.
So.
Well, anyway, drive carefully out there. Let me just quickly give you a rundown here. Ashland School, Butte Falls, Klamath School, County School District, Klamath Falls City Schools, Medford School District, Phoenix Talent Schools, Prospect Schools, River Edge Academy, Charter School, Rogue River School, Rogue Valley Adventist, 3 Rivers School, and St. Mary's all closed today. Central Point, Eagle Point, and Grants Pass are all operating on a 2-hour delay. So the best thing you can do is really check your school's website. And I will say this, from what I see right now, most of the mountain passes are passable, but very icy. They're clear, but very icy. And when you have melting snow freeze in the middle of the night, that makes for black ice in the morning.
Yep.
So be careful out there. And one other quick backyard news, it looks like the Providence nurse strike has settled.
I saw that.
Yeah, 380 nurses at Providence right here in Medford, the medical center, reached a tentative agreement, and we'll see where this goes. They were on strike for 26 days. So it's good to see this get settled. I don't know. Look, you know what was so interesting? I was surprised the emails I got on both sides of the argument.
Oh, really?
Yeah, this was kind of an eye-opener for me.
Oh, okay.
I'm reading this point of view. I'm reading this point of view.
Yeah.
And I'm going, okay, that's why you guys have to get together. So they settled. Hallelujah. Praise the Lord. That one's over. All right. All right. Let's take a look at the satellite image. Here's what's happening on the weather scene out there. And let's see. Do we have the weather? There it is. Yeah, a little bit coming across. This could produce a little bit, but not much, right?
Yeah, today we have an 80% chance. So that's a pretty good band of
but
moisture
that's rain
coming through.
here.
Like all of January's precipitation in 2 days, in the last 2 days.
You know, and we don't even have April showers yet.
Yeah, don't even think about it.
You know, the April showers that bring the Mayflowers?
Yeah, exactly. Oh my goodness.
Hey, wait, today is the 6th, right?
Yeah, yep.
Just let you know that Valentine's Day is the 14th.
Oh, golly.
I just want to give you a little bit of a warning.
Thank you.
Because I've been, seeing things.
Uh-huh.
If you buy some jewels here, we'll give you roses and candy. If you buy your candy here, we'll give you some roses. If you buy some roses, we'll give you some candy.
And you know what?
But you may want to buy your wife a new 4-wheel drive pickup.
Well, that's a good point. We've been so concentrating on what's going on around us in the weather that we've kind of lost focus. Yeah, Valentine's Day is coming up.
I'm just giving you guys a little bit of an 8-day warning here.
Great warning. Thank you very much. Well, it's interesting to see. We've been looking at the activity of the Trump administration here, and things are on full pedal to the metal, as it seems, and some interesting relations with some of our neighbors. With that in mind, Jonathan Wilkerson, Canada's Energy Resource Minister, joined Stuart Varney and is hopeful that a win-win situation will be found that will benefit both nations.
President Trump has been very clear that he has concerns around the border in terms of illegal crossings and the crossing of fentanyl. I would say the numbers coming across the Canadian border are very, very small, but we have said, yes, we agree. 1 crossing and 1 pound of fentanyl is too much. We announced a package of over $1 billion to buy helicopters and drones and to actually put more people at the border. But we've also said to President Trump and his folks that we're willing to do more. And so that's a conversation that we need to have. This is something that both of us agree. We need to actually ensure the border is fully secure. I would also say that I'm heading to Washington this week to have conversations about how can we actually help each other become more secure, particularly vis-a-vis China. Canada has vast resources of critical minerals, but we need some help in developing those. It would be a way in which we can actually help to ensure security against, the country that really is the challenge for both of us, which is China.
Look, the pause has occurred, so we all panicked. Remember Monday when we started this, I said, don't be surprised before midnight that there's a pause with Canada. Well, it ended up being a pause with Canada and Mexico. Mexico's sending 10,000 troops. They're already at the border.
Right.
Canada is going to spend $1.3 billion in increasing border security at their end. Mm-hmm. In the meantime, the news has come out and shows how much fentanyl over the last year has come across those two borders.
Yeah.
And now he's got the squeeze on China, and China's trying to retaliate with, putting some kind of a tariff on soybeans or something. And that's all. Don't get me wrong. I'm for farmers, and this will hurt farming for a while. But the point is, it worked. Mm-hmm. And I think before everybody panics over Gaza, just remember, this is Trump buying another hotel. I think he just read the art of the deal.
Yes. Oh my goodness.
And so anyway, he throws these things out there. Everybody, and the minute it goes out there, people come to him and he negotiates.
Yeah.
So it's an amazing time in our history. All right, I'm going to buy NBC. We'll be right back.
Get ready for fun at Rogue Ski Shop Think Snow Sale. Boulder Gear clothing now 20% off. Goggles, adults starting at $29, kids starting at $26. All Scott gloves 20% off. If you ski or ride, it's time to slide into Rogue Ski Shop Medford.
Disasters happen, and Oregon faces a range of disaster threats, including earthquakes, floods, and storms. You can prepare now by taking 3 important steps. Create a home inventory, make copies of important financial records, and contact your insurance company to make sure you have the right amounts and types of home insurance coverage. Be disaster ready by being insurance ready. Visit dfr.oregon.gov/prepare now to learn how.
Okay, good morning to you. 1:30, and well, the big exchange yesterday was President Trump or day before yesterday, President Trump and Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu. They met, and then they came out and do this news conference. I will say one thing about Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu. What an orator.
Oh, yeah. Yeah.
And he's so polished.
Yeah, he is.
You know. But anyway, the big news was the whole thing about Gaza. But as we check in with CBN Newswatch, Ephraim is talking to Chris Mitchell about the meeting, and here's what they had to say.
Chris, who else is Prime Minister Netanyahu meeting with, and why are those meetings so significant while he's here?
Well, you know, he extended his visit till Saturday night, Ephraim, and the reason is many wanted to meet with him. Yesterday, he met with Vice President Vance, also National Security Advisor Mike Waltz. He's also saw, as we see in our report, Secretary of Defense Pete Hegseth. The reason it's significant is because it really represents a sea change in U.S.-Israel relations. The Biden White House had kept weapons from Israel. The Trump White House is releasing them. For example, last year, Vice President Kamala Harris, she actually refused to come to the address when Netanyahu spoke to a joint session of Congress. And even the rhetoric is different, and the reception Netanyahu got at the White House, far different than he got from the reception from the Biden administration just last year.
President Trump says Gaza is like a demolition site. How would you describe what you're seeing in Gaza?
Well, I saw that several months ago last year, Ephraim. We traveled to see one of the Hamas tunnels with the IDF, and even then, that was in Khan Yunis. We saw widespread destruction. Trump is stating the obvious. Gaza really, in many ways, is inhabitable. And why is it a demolition site, as he describes it? Well, actually, over the last 20 years or so, when Hamas took over in 2007, it really became a massive military base. And we were briefed by the IDF. It really became, some people call it the largest terror base in the world. There were weapons and tunnels nearly everywhere, in mosques, schools, even in children's bedrooms. They would have RPGs. And that's why much of the fighting over the last 15 to 16 months has been house to house, from neighborhood to neighborhood. Hence, the destruction that you see there in Gaza, and why President Trump is advising that let's rebuild it. But in the meantime, let Gazans leave if they want to.
Now, let's go back to Prime Minister Netanyahu's visit to Washington. One of the first meetings was with Christian leaders. What have you heard about that meeting?
Well, I talked to one of the participants. His name is Mario Bramnik. He's the head of the Latino Coalition for Israel. The meeting was one day before the meeting of Netanyahu and Trump. Actually, which they said that meeting with Netanyahu and Trump was one of the most strategic meetings for both nations. Right now, Israel's facing wars on multiple fronts, and now we're shifting to new faces and a new administration. Another person in that meeting was former Governor Mike Huckabee, soon to be likely the U.S. ambassador to Israel. Also, the Israeli ambassador was there. His name is Yakil Leiter. He actually lost a son, one of the first IDF soldiers to fall in the war in Gaza. And Netanyahu, at that meeting, he said he made it clear to these Christian leaders that they believe in the Bible, and their relationship with Israel is really indispensable. So the meeting was very important for Netanyahu and his advisors to meet with these Christian leaders who have a pro-Israel and a biblical understanding of the Jewish state.
Do you agree with Michael Oren? President Trump is changing the rules of the game in the Middle East?
Yeah, I really do. We have had the privilege of interviewing Michael Oren for many years when he was a historian with the think tank here in Jerusalem, and then as the former Israeli ambassador to the U.S. It's really hard to remember a more daring idea that's out of the box It really is shifting thinking in the region. It's upsetting some thinking about the whole Palestinian narrative and the cause, and this whole idea of a two-state solution. You see many nations like France saying, well, we're not going to move at all. We still see the two-state solution as the solution to the Middle East. But we're seeing the effect of Trump's plan already, and we're going to be seeing it more in the days and weeks to come, Ephraim. Certainly why it's important to pray for the peace of Jerusalem and the entire Middle East.
Well, there you go. Look, Chris is...
Wow.
I can't say enough about Chris. Wonderful guy, on the job, gives you the right perspective. You can take Chris's reports to the bank. They're good stuff.
Yeah.
All right, coming up in a few moments, we're going to try to, when we get connection here, the president is speaking at the National Prayer Breakfast. We'll try to sneak into that and see if we can pick up a part of that. In the meantime, let's sneak into Jerry's backyard and see what this computer is saying about weather.
As systems continue to move across the Pacific Northwest, today in northern Oregon and southern Washington, a slight chance of snow showers, then partly sunny with daytime high temperatures in the low 40s for Vancouver, Portland, Wilsonville, and McMinnville with a light north wind. Continuing down the Willamette Valley with a slight chance of rain and snow, then mostly cloudy and low 40s for Salem and Albany. A chance of rain and snow in Corvallis with a high near 39 and Eugene near 40. In central Oregon, a chance of snow in mid to upper 30s for Prineville and Bend. Snow likely in Sun River with a high near 33 with lows in the teens. Over in Boise, Idaho, cloudy and low 40s. Along the Oregon coast, showers likely mainly before 10 a.m., then a chance of rain after 1 with daytime highs near 46 for Coos Bay, Port Orford, and Brookings, and near 49 in Crescent City, California. In southern Oregon, a chance of rain and snow, then rain after 1 p.m. for Grants Pass, Medford, and Ashland with highs near 39. In the Klamath Basin, snow showers with highs in the mid-30s. Into northern California, a chance of snow, then rain and snow and near 37 in Wairika. Rain showers for Redding and Chico with daytime highs near 47, and Sacramento near 52 with a light southeast wind. In the Bay Area, rain and patchy fog before 10 a.m. for Santa Rosa and Napa with daytime highs near 51. Rain in San Francisco with a high near 57 and a light east wind. And today in San Jose, rain with a high near 58. It's a look at your Thursday weather on the Dove.
All right, welcome back. Let's sneak over to Washington, D.C. The National Prayer Breakfast is occurring, and President Trump is speaking there.
Religious freedom, although I will tell you the last 4 years have been very difficult. It would have been a very difficult thing for me to have made that statement if this speech was taking place 2 years ago. My administration is absolutely committed to defending this proud heritage, and I will always protect religious liberty. And that is why today I'm on and really honoring a lot of people, but I'm announcing that I will be creating a brand new presidential commission on religious liberty. It's going to be a very big deal, which will work tirelessly to uphold this most fundamental right. Unfortunately.
Okay. All right, well, you can see what's going on there.
Yeah.
Another commission.
Interesting, yeah.
Well, look, I don't know who he'll put on that. We'll wait and see. But I will say this. He sits in the middle of an interesting religious perspective. He likes Paula White.
Yeah, he does, yeah.
And she is a evangelical evangelist, teacher, pastor.
Yeah.
And his son-in-law and family are Jewish.
Right.
And so he's got this interesting combination going on in his life. Dr. Robert Jeffress very much has the president's phone number.
Yeah.
And they call each other.
Franklin Graham.
And Franklin Graham.
Right.
So I think what's going on here is, and he now has stated that the assassination attempt on his life has made him realize there is a God and he was spared. I don't know what's going on inside President Trump's heart. That's God's business, okay?
Yeah,
but the point being is, if he's going to create a commission on religious freedom in America, when have we ever seen that?
Never.
What will it look like, and what will be its mission?
Yeah.
And who will be on it? So another announcement from the president. All right, go ahead.
Well, while searching for this day in history, you know, I love those stories about what happened. I came upon one that I never heard about. And although this was for yesterday's on this day in history, I had to tell this story anyway because it was when the U.S. lost a nuclear bomb.
On February 5th, 1958, off the coast of Georgia, a B-47 Stratojet bomber carrying a nuclear bomb was mid-flight conducting a routine training mission when disaster struck. In the skies above Tybee Island, a sudden collision with an F-86 fighter jet sent shockwaves through the crew. The pilot of the fighter jet parachuted to safety, but the B-47 remained airborne, plummeting from 38,000 feet until the pilot regained control at 20,000 feet. As they prepared for an emergency landing, permission was granted to jettison their nuclear payload, fearing it might explode if they tried to land with it. The bomb plunged into the waters below, its fate uncertain. The bomber made an emergency landing, but the payload, a 7,600-pound Mark 15 thermonuclear bomb, vanished into the deep blue. Despite several attempts over the decades to locate the weapon, it remains lost somewhere beneath the waves off Tybee Island. The U.S. government has never fully declassified the details, and to this day the bomb's final resting place is a mystery, leaving behind an eerie legacy of a moment that could have changed history.
Still down there?
It's still down there.
Really?
It's still down. They couldn't find it. They have never been able to find it.
I wonder if salt water kind of
neutralizes
it.
Right off of Savannah, Georgia. Woo.
Wow.
A little sobering, huh?
Yeah. We're going to tiptoe into the kitchen. We'll be right back.
Finding that next great series to binge watch is fun, but your neck, shoulders, and body don't count that as me time. Hi, I'm Tamara Miller, owner of Organic Element Spa, and I invite you to put down the remote, get off the couch, and schedule yourself some real me or we time with your favorite service, like one of our many massages, couples massages, or facials. Your health, safety, and comfort are always top priority with us at Organic Element Spa. We can't wait to see you. Book your appointment today.
Your property demands equipment with more reliability, durability, and versatility built in. Kubota equipment is ready to get the job done right.
I'm holding the many prayer requests that arrive here at theDove. We're grateful that you include us with your prayer needs. As a staff, know that we join you and pray over your requests for God's help. Have a prayer need? Let us know by going to thedove.us.
Don't miss this. After being stripped, beaten, locked, and left to suffer, Paul and Silas were praying and singing hymns to God. They chose to praise God in the middle of horrible circumstances. If we're worshiping God with resolution today, we will learn to worship God in persecution tomorrow. We need to learn how to worship God. Know this, when you come to church every Sunday, this is a rehearsal. We're learning to praise God, not just for now, but for the days coming when we will not need praise just for our own edification, but for our own protection. Praise is a weapon. You and I get to choose how we respond to persecution. We can respond in anger, or we can resolve to worship and amplify the values of God's kingdom. When the time comes, I pray that you and I will have the courage to make the right choice. And we resolve to worship even in the midst of mistreatment. God will get the glory, and victory will be ours.
How that is? They could kill them.
Yeah.
They have no moral, no value, no nothing going on with that. So we'll keep an eye on it.
And speaking of which, we still don't know how many, right?
I don't know.
I don't know.
Yeah.
Yeah.
All right. Well, got some great guests coming up, so we have some great conversation.
Okay. Well, you know, remember playgrounds? Back in the day when we grew up, they looked a lot different than playgrounds today. The monkey bars went high. In fact, there's probably no monkey bars anymore. Slides were like 3 stories tall. I mean, the level of danger was significantly higher than what you see today. But sometimes we see things that are old are new again, and that's the case for risky playgrounds in the Netherlands.
Parts of Dutch society are campaigning to bring risky playgrounds back into their cities and towns as concerns about too much time spent indoors, helicopter parenting, and childhood diabetes risks grow.
Some are merely advocating playgrounds with potentially dangerous toys, such as merry-go-rounds and monkey bars, but others are seeking places for their children to be able to start fires, build with hammers, and play fighting games with sticks. No one wants their children to be injured, of course, but the policy proposal acknowledges that without spaces to explore and challenge themselves in, kids risk losing the opportunity to develop crucial skills. According to the policy, roughy-tufty playing means that children might get a bump or cut, but they say it's an acceptable risk. One of the advocates for the new playgrounds, Rob Hoffland, said, "The inspiration, and it really is a huge problem, is that children are hardly moving. All kinds of problems stem from just sitting behind a screen." According to research from the Dutch Diabetes Research Foundation, children are on average spending twice as much time indoors today than before the pandemic lockdowns, while motor skills have declined so much that many children can no longer catch a ball. In Amsterdam, some parents and organizations are taking this principle to the extreme in the form of Woeste Westen, or Wild West. In this radical play space, kids can go fishing, climb trees, build huts, start and cook with open fires, and play with real tools like hammers and knives, all in the name of helping them develop the mental, physical coordination that an adult relies upon to navigate potentially dangerous situations. Of course, there will be scrapes, bruises, and a scar or two, but who said an enjoyable life is painless?
That is terrific.
Yes.
So I would think a couple of things. Each parent would probably have to sign a release.
I would think so, yeah.
Okay, so
yeah.
there's a hold harmless thing going on.
Yeah.
I think probably the one thing they could do is just pad the ground everywhere.
Yeah, well, yeah,
You know?
and yeah.
Otherwise, go for it.
And this thing, you know, especially some of those outdoor spaces that are in very country setting, you know, in some places the ground is padded by mud. So.
Well, I think I was third grade. Can't remember. I'm old now, but I was on a playground where they had one of those merry-go-rounds, and there was a rope on it, and my leg got caught in that rope.
Ooh.
Okay.
Oh.
And compound fracture in 3 places.
Oh.
And I remember kind of passing in and out.
No kidding.
Oh, yeah.
Oh.
Yeah, blood everywhere.
Oh.
Everybody panicked.
Oh.
My parents didn't even think about suing the school.
No.
It wasn't even on the mind because the school was like a family.
Oh, sure. Yes.
You know?
Yes.
And so the school bus driver, it was a 2-room schoolhouse. Believe it or not, I'm that old where we went to that.
Mm-hmm.
And the school bus driver grabs me and puts me in the back seat of his car, but his car wasn't grounded. It had one of those things where you had a little rubber thing in the back would hit the ground once in a while.
Right.
So we'd be driving along, we'd get this little shock, and he was taking me to the hospital.
You're kidding.
So he actually drove me from the school to home to get my mother.
Oh, no way.
And then drove me to the hospital.
So you got compound fractures, shocks going on. Boy, how times have changed,
I had
huh?
bones sticking out of my legs, and I was a kid, and next thing I woke up, I had been operated on, and I was in the hospital, and I was dingering a fruitcake.
Oh, I bet you were.
But I had a full leg cast on for months.
Oh.
Months.
My goodness.
And that created another story when you get sand down and cast. Anyway, but we had that kind of toys. I mean, we had swings that went 30 feet in the air.
Yeah, absolutely.
And that was part of it. If you fell off, you got up and went back.
Right, and we would stand up on those swings, like the picture showed, because you could pump them higher that way.
Yeah.
And then we would see how high we could jump off of them. We release off of them.
Yeah.
Oh, my goodness.
Well, I think what the point is that kids are not getting out. They're just not. The only thing I say to parents, get your kids, soccer's good, don't get me wrong, I think that's good. Little league's good.
Yep.
Get them in a 4-H project if you can. You say, well, we don't live in the country. Well, you know, raise a chicken in the backyard. Get one. You know, do something like that.
Oh, my goodness.
Hey, I got some great guests coming up. Can't wait to. Here's the scripture for you today, Acts 1:8. But you will receive power when the Holy Spirit has come upon you, and you will be my witnesses in Jerusalem and Judea and Samaria and to the end of the earth. I want to just give you a little sermon there. What's the order there? Jerusalem is home. Judea would be Oregon. Samaria would be the United States, and then around the world.
Oh, right. Right.
Think about that.
Good message.
If your ministry doesn't work at home,
yeah,
don't export it.
like it. Yeah.
Owning a small business is kind of a big deal. State Farm agent Rory Wold can help you find the right coverage at the right price. Now's the right time to call Rory for a quote.
Stewardship begins with the knowledge that nothing belongs to us, but everything belongs to the Lord. This helps us to run a business not in the fear of lack, but in the assurance of His care and provision. Such a perspective eliminates the drive to sell and replaces it with a heart that says serve. This begins with serving our clients and coworkers with integrity and genuine care. That's why McKelly's is automotive service with a heart for God and treating others as we ourselves would want to be treated. Our promise is to never sell our clients anything we don't believe they need. Another is to do all we can to meet other needs, such as shuttle service and loaner cars, or taking the time to really listen, even at times praying with our customers. Sometimes this means sacrifice, going above and beyond. But that's why I work for Kelly's Automotive Service, honoring God while serving people with honesty and integrity.
Nigerian Christians
in Iran are routinely arrested.
Happily, Christians continue to suffer.
In times of trial and affliction, you need to know the truth.
One of the fastest growing Christian populations in the world.
Join Wendy Griffith and George Thomas for Christian World News.
Young people are the ones who are open to the gospel.
Powerful stories of suffering and hope that affect all Christians.
Watch Christian World News weeknights at 5:30 on the Dove TV.
The kind of person that Perry is first of all, he's got a tremendous pastor's heart with the ability to preach the truth of the gospel, which I don't think is always a common aspect. He's totally plugged into the world and what is going on out there, especially with his political background, being able to combine those things, being able to look at the news of the day, plus being able to look at it through the eyes and the heart of a pastor, I think is tremendous. But that pastor's heart shines even greater in his dealings with associates and people with the Dove Radio and TV, with the paraministries that we're involved in. So I think it's a big part of his personality on the air. Besides that, he is the funniest guy I know.
Wake up to information, encouragement, and hope. Mornings on the Dove, weekdays on the Dove TV. Get more at thedove.us. You're watching the Dove TV, encouraging and informative for Salem, Kaiser, and the Willamette Valley. Seen on KSLM 27 and these Dove TV affiliates.
Well, good morning, good morning. Yes, we are like bad habits. We return. Good morning to you, Perry and Jerry here, and what a wild couple of days here in Southern Oregon. Unlike anything we have seen in years, the winter storm that has hit Southern Oregon is still impacting a lot that's going on around here. We are seeing a little bit warmer weather, but still a lot of ice and snow. A lot of power lines are down. Just to give you a little bit of a rundown here this morning, Ashland School, Butte Falls School, Klamath County Schools, Klamath Falls City Schools, Medford School District, Phoenix Talent School District, Prospect, Rivers Edge Academy, Rogue River School District, Rogue Valley Adventist, and 3 Schools District, and St. Mary's all closed. Central Point, Eagle Point, and Grants Pass will be running on a 2-hour delay. Right. And the only thing I can say, those things can change. They could change before I even get through reading them. You ought to check with the website of your school district to make sure. And certainly be checking the roads, even though over the summits, over the Siskiyous this morning and the other summits, things seem to be moving, but icy. So be very, very careful out there. Good morning. A lot going on in the news, and wow, what a couple of days. What'd you do?
I went skiing.
In your backyard?
I went for miles.
Did you up and down your driveway?
Oh, no. I headed out on Powerline Road, and I took off towards the lake.
Really?
Oh, yeah. I got miles of cross-country skiing out around my neck of the woods. I live in the country, you know, and we had plenty of snow. I do it each time we get a good snowfall. So, I just I locked the dogs up so they wouldn't follow me.
Okay.
and so I took off, and boy, it's been nice. And Mount Ashland's been closed, so I couldn't, do anything up there. And although they had a water main issue, and they had power outage like we did here, but I think they're reopening again today. And if you're going up to Mount Ashland, take your fat boards because it's all powder.
Was it open?
I think they're planning on opening today. Yeah.
Really?
Yeah, I think they're planning. So I'll check here.
Okay.
See if they have any motion in that direction. But I'm optimistic about it because it's National Optimist Day.
Well, of course.
Why not?
Okay.
Confident people look to the future with hope.
Yes.
And on Optimist Day, we celebrate the volunteers who share their enthusiasm, skills, and talent to make that tomorrow a vibrant and peaceful one. Amen to that. Celebrate Optimist Day. If you're thinking about going to work, go. You're probably going to make it. I'm optimistic for you. Also, it is National Chopsticks Day. How do you like chopsticks?
I do.
Yeah, around 1200 BC, Chinese cooks began using chopsticks to prepare food. They were likely long enough to reach into hot cooking pots. Then around, I didn't know this, 400 BC, when fuels for cooking became scarce. Food was prepared in smaller pieces, reducing the number of resources needed to cook it, and at the same time, the need for sharp eating utensils faded and shorter chopsticks entered the scene. And so people have been using chopsticks for a long time. Today, chopsticks may be made from wood, such as bamboo or aspen. Elaborately carved chopsticks may be cut from jade, ivory, or wood, and artisans may ornamentally paint some chopsticks with miniature scenes. So I don't want any paint on my chopsticks, but...
Well, I like the wooden ones because they help grab things a little better.
Yes.
But let me ask you this. Do you like Asian food?
I love Asian food.
Okay.
Oh, yes.
So, I enjoy using chopsticks.
That's tougher, though. Noodle soup and soup. Yeah, it's a little bit tough.
Well, yeah, having soup with chopsticks.
But, you watch a lot of...
You got to see how the Asians do it. They hold it up,
Right, exactly it. So, and of course, at the same time in Europe, they're still eating with their fingers, so...
Well, barbarians. So,
that's right.
Sushi?
So I love sushi. Oh, yes.
Do you?
Absolutely.
The
yes.
raw?
Oh, yeah.
Which one?
Bring it. It's hard to beat salmon.
Yeah.
But, I'll eat anything that you put down there that you tell me is sushi.
Okay, well, if you got to dunk it in some wasabi.
Well, I like, yes.
And teriyaki sauce or something.
I had wasabi yesterday, wasabi peas, and I kept getting these blast up my sinuses. And Pam was like, I'm not getting any of that. I said, you take more in your hand. Put them in. Chew more.
So,
anyway.
He puts wasabi and horseradish on his pancakes.
Moving on. There's something I don't put wasabi on. It is National Frozen Yogurt Day.
Ooh.
It recognizes a sweet frozen dessert that has gone from fad status to staple freezer item in a few decades. You commented that it used to be much bigger of a fad status.
When it came on the scene and there was yogurt shops with all the toppings, it was kind of like a huge fad.
You're right.
And then kind of backed off a little bit.
Well, I remember the first frozen yogurts that you could buy in the store was Dannon.
Oh, yeah.
And man, they had some really good frozen yogurt. But they say here that frozen yogurt is again making a comeback as consumers have begun to prefer the tart taste of yogurt. So not only does it go into home freezers, but a sweet stop after work or play. That is, of course, if you're not stopping at, a coffee shop.
Okay, there you go.
Yeah.
Pour coffee over it.
And yes.
There you go.
Why not?
All right.
I could do that.
All right. Let's slip over real quick. They're praying for President Trump at the National Prayer Breakfast. I think we can slip in there and get a little of this. Can we do that, guys? Can you get it? Oh.
They're jumping.
Okay. We'll come back to that.
All right.
But he was speaking at the National Prayer Breakfast, and now he's done speaking, and a variety of speakers are praying for him, which is kind of cool. So, all right, let's take a look at the weather.
As systems continue to move across the Pacific Northwest, today in northern Oregon and southern Washington, a slight chance of snow showers, then partly sunny with daytime high temperatures in the low 40s for Vancouver, Portland, Wilsonville, and McMinnville with a light north wind. Continuing down the Willamette Valley with a slight chance of rain and snow, then mostly cloudy and low 40s for Salem and Albany. A chance of rain and snow in Corvallis with a high near 39 and Eugene near 40. In central Oregon, a chance of snow in mid to upper 30s for Prineville and Bend. Snow likely in Sun River with a high near 33 with lows in the teens. Over in Boise, Idaho, cloudy and low 40s. Along the Oregon coast, showers likely mainly before 10 a.m., then a chance of rain after 1 with daytime highs near 46 for Coos Bay, Port Orford, and Brookings, and near 49 in Crescent City, California. In southern Oregon, a chance of rain and snow, then rain after 1 p.m. for Grants Pass, Medford, and Ashland with highs near 39. In the Klamath Basin, snow showers with highs in the mid-30s. Into northern California, a chance of snow, then rain and snow and near 37 in Wairika. Rain showers for Redding and Chico with daytime highs near 47, and Sacramento near 52 with a light southeast wind. In the Bay Area, rain and patchy fog before 10 a.m. for Santa Rosa and Napa with daytime highs near 51. Rain in San Francisco with a high near 57 and a light east wind. And today in San Jose, rain with a high near 58. It's a look at your Thursday weather on the Dove.
Okay, well, there's the valley. Some high clouds and low fog over the top of us this morning. I haven't heard any planes leave, so it must be below minimums.
Oh, good point. Yeah.
And so we'll keep an eye on that. But we're recovering from an amazing series of storms that came through and just really dumped on us. These clouds, actually, the temperatures are going to be a little warmer today. The sunshine yesterday really helped a lot.
Yes.
But we're still got some very wintering conditions out there. Most the mountain passes, at least the Siskiyou one, let me put it that way, is passable, but a lot of ice. And also the pass up out of Grants Pass, that is moving along fine too. So Mount Sexton area. So be careful as you mount up and go.
Still a good idea to check in, tripcheck.com. Great place, great resource to look in.
Okay.
So, well, we know the Bible is filled with promises that we should all grab hold of. And Pastor Jack Hibbs is here to highlight one of them.
Why do I revel in the sovereignty of God? Because he shows mercy. It says it right here. Do you need mercy? I want mercy. I love mercy. The remarkable thing about mercy is that you don't value mercy unless you realize you need mercy. A lot of people today, even right now, I'll mention the word mercy, and it's like, oh, yeah, well, whatever. Isn't that one of those old words, mercy? Listen, you can hold that view of yours for a little bit, but when you're in trouble, you're going to cry out for mercy. Mercy. God is merciful. The Bible says in Romans 5, verses 8 and 9, but God demonstrates his own love toward us in that while we were still sinners, Christ died for us. Don't answer, but when it says Christ died for us, who was Paul talking about? Christ died for us. Don't answer, just think. Who's he talking to? Christ died for us. Verse 9, much more then, having now been justified by his blood, we shall be saved from wrath through him. That's a promise in the Bible, church.
You ever beg for mercy? You know, I was watching Menendez get sentenced.
Oh.
And he broke down in tears and literally begged the judge for mercy.
Oh, I didn't see that.
Now, here's the interesting thing. You don't break God's laws. God's laws break you. Covenant keepers win, covenant breakers lose. So God may show you mercy, but does it eliminate the consequences of the sin?
No.
See, that's the tough part. And so a lot of people are in prison today that have received God's mercy, but they're not out of prison.
Oh, yeah.
They're going to pay the price.
Yeah.
And so your sin does have a consequence, and it should put a little bit of fear and edge in your thinking.
Yeah.
Should scare you a little bit.
Yep. Yes.
You'd think. All right, so much for that sermon. Let's take a look at the headlines. The president just got through wrapping up a speech over at the National Prayer Breakfast. We'll get highlights on that a little bit later. The big story over the last couple of days is that Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu comes to town, and he and the president get together and they talk long. He's the first foreign head of state to meet with the president since his new administration. And in the middle of the news conference between the two leaders, President Trump announces that the U.S. will take over the Gaza Strip. Well, you could hear the oxygen leave the room. You kind of go, what? Now, when I watched this news conference, so I was watching it live, and I go, what did he just say? And my mind said, oh, this is another Greenland thing. Mm-hmm. This is another Canada 51st state thing. This is Panama thing. So he's throwing a big thing out there.
Yeah.
Well, it got traction. So here's a little bit of what the president said.
The U.S. will take over the Gaza Strip, and we will do a job with it, too. We'll own it and be responsible for dismantling all of the dangerous unexploded bombs and other weapons on the site, level the site and get rid of the destroyed buildings, level it out, create an economic development that will supply unlimited numbers of jobs and housing for the people of the area. Do a real job, do something different. Just can't go back. If you go back, it's going to end up the same way it has for 100 years.
Okay, so you could tell that even the prime minister was a little, what? we did talk about this, but you took it to another level. And it just sparked all kinds of things across the landscape. Come to find out, in the Middle East, you would expect the Palestinians, Saudi Arabia, Egypt are all against it. But some of the people, the Palestinians in Gaza and all of Israel and other foreign leaders think this is a great idea. What it is, we don't know. We don't know what the detail of it is. But I'm waiting for the political cartoon to come out with the president in a hard hat in his full suit with his red tie driving a D8 pushing some broken buildings around. You know that's going to come up.
Right, yeah.
But got to remember, read The Art of the Deal. You'll figure out what's going on here. And it's not that the prime minister completely was shocked. I mean, they obviously talked about it, but I think where he was shocked was the president came out and just took it to another level.
Right. Yeah.
And they kind of go, well, what do we do with
and
this?
usually when they talk about these things, the talks end up going on and on and on before you take it to the public. And Donald Trump, they apparently chatted about it, and then it's time to unveil it.
I think what you need to understand, when the president liked saying, well, we're going to take back the Panama Canal, guess what he did? He just brought the whole issue to the table for negotiations.
Yes.
We're going to do a lot line adjustment and take over Greenland. We're going to make Maine Greenland, you know. He brought that to the table. He did the same thing with Canada. He did the same thing with the tariffs. And at the last minute, the 25% tariffs of Mexico and Canada got withdrawn because they're now going to defend the border. So what is the whole thing about Gaza? And can a country go into another country and sovereignly take control? What's this all about? We've got the whole world talking to him about it. Guess what? He just changed the whole thinking about Gaza. The takeaway point from my perspective is he makes the point by saying it cannot return to what it was.
Right, yeah.
It didn't work. We have to come up with something new.
Yes.
So he opened the door for that discussion.
Isn't doing the same thing that has not worked just one of the definitions of insanity?
Keep doing the same thing over and over, expecting a different result. All right, the other thing is that he held up a campaign promise over the weekend, the executive order, no men in women's sports. And here he is talking about it.
With this executive order, the war on women's sports is over. Under the Trump administration, we will defend the proud tradition of female athletes, and we will not allow men to beat up, injure, and cheat our women and our girls. From now on, women's sports will be only for women. With my action this afternoon, we're putting every school receiving taxpayer dollars on notice that if you let men take over women's sports teams or invade your locker rooms, you will be investigated for violations of Title IX and risk your federal funding. There will be no federal funding. So when the Olympics comes to Los Angeles in 2028, my administration will not stand by and watch men beat and batter female athletes, and we're just not going to let it happen, and it's going to end, and it's ending right now, and nobody's going to be able to do a damn thing about it, because when I speak, we speak with authority.
Okay.
Okay. Well, the only thing I can say is that this is just got so many legs. Now, he mentioned Title IX. That's the biggie. And guess what? Every school district in the country that advances against this executive order will lose their federal funding.
Amazing.
You're talking billions of dollars.
Amazing.
In the meantime, he's looking at wiping out the Department of Education.
Yeah, wow.
By the way, that all came to the surface for discussion.
Yeah, you know what I enjoyed watching in that clip, Perry, was over his shoulder you could see Riley Gaines, the NCAA swimmer who got beat by a guy, Leah Thomas, if we all remember that. And I just couldn't believe that the left was defending that. And then she was speaking out against it. Remember in San Francisco, she was a hostage. Protesters forced her into a side room. In fact, one gal, who's really a guy, took a swing at her, hit her, and she had trouble actually even keeping protection. So she was holed up in basically in a closet. But it was fun watching her reaction of joy and approval as he made that announcement.
Well, here we go, and especially with the Olympics going. So I don't know what the Olympics going to do with this. The Olympic Committee.
Yeah, how does that work?
And what is the NCAA going to? Not the NCAA.
Yeah, the NCAA is.
Yeah, NCAA. What are they going to do?
They've already indicated, the head of the NCAA, that they're going to comply.
Okay.
Hot dog.
Well, the president's also getting some of his cabinet slowly through the maze. RFK Jr. did get out of committee over the last couple of days, and now he'll be moving to the Senate floor for a full vote. Looks like all of that's going to go down party lines. And Pam Bondi was sworn in yesterday as the new Attorney General. And this is amazing. Supreme Court Justice Clarence Thomas, resided over the swearing in. That's her taking the oath. That's her husband. That's her mother. And in the audience there in the White House was the rest of her family and her pastor. Isn't it nice to see so many people in government these days wearing a cross?
Yeah, yeah.
It is amazing.
Yep.
And even on some of the new conservative news outlets, people are wearing the crosses.
Yes.
So anyway, she didn't waste any time. She immediately went into office and orders and order to combat the weaponization of the legal system, make prosecutions seek the death penalty where appropriate, and work with the Department of Homeland Security to completely eliminate cartels. Now, let me just say about cartels, it's more than drugs.
Oh, yeah.
Cartels are controlling a lot of the agriculture in California.
Well,
so they ought to go after the whole thing here.
Yeah,
we'll see what happens. But it's a new day at the DOJ.
Well, Chuck Schumer is holding up avocados and Corona beer, saying, "Here's the problem."
If a Republican did that, they would be absolutely run off the planet.
Absolutely.
So finally, some people are pushing back.
Yeah, thank goodness.
Yeah.
Yep.
So anyway, she's tough. We'll see what she does. Who was the Janet under Clinton?
Janet Reno?
Janet Reno.
Yeah.
And she did the invasion.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
Waco.
Oh, yeah. And remember when there was the kid from Cuba that they
went and got him in the closet?
Right, and forced him back to Cuba. Right. Oh, my goodness. And they were all armed. They looked like a SWAT team going in there to get this
went
kid.
into the house and grabbed the kid out of the closet.
Yes.
And then she burned Waco down.
Absolutely.
Now, so the left, look, you guys got a lot of skeletons in your closet. Go ahead. Keep your writing going, because it just shows you how disconnected you really are.
Yeah, absolutely.
You have a chance.
Yep.
To regain common sense, and you're blowing it.
Yep.
But their numbers are shrinking, so. Hey, so much for all that. We're going to take a deep breath and look for some yogurt. No, not, what is it?
Yeah, frozen yogurt.
There we go.
Yeah, well, on a day like today, it's got to be frozen.
It will be.
Hi, Dad, father and son jewelry. Looking for engagement rings? Ovals, round, pear shapes, and more. All a third off at Father and Son Jewelry.
And let's not forget about our fellas. With Lashbrook, you can have it your way. From plain bands, precious or alternative, thick or thin, we can add stones, engravings, and inlays. Lashbrook can do it all.
Father and Son Jewelry.
Your family jeweler since 1958.
Visit Father and Son Jewelry, 5 generations of family in Medford.
Finding that next great series to binge watch is fun, but your neck, shoulders, and body don't count that as me time. Hi, I'm Tamara Miller, owner of Organic Element Spa, and I invite you to put down the remote, get off the couch, and schedule yourself some real me or we time with your favorite service, like one of our many massages, couples massages, or facials. Your health, safety, and comfort are always top priority with us at Organic Element Spa. We can't wait to see you. Book your appointment today.
It's your time to fly. Let's make it convenient. We are your airport. Fly MFR.
I'm holding the many, many prayer requests that arrive here at the Dove regularly. We're grateful that you include us in your prayer needs. And as a staff, know that we pray over your requests, asking the God of miracles for his answers and help. The Dove is also here for you with the word for you today, an excellent daily devotional free from the Dove. Both of these helpful resources are available for you at theDove.us. The Dove TV, encouraging and informative.
Okay, we're trying. You see my brain out there? Don't run over it. It's not a speed bump out there. Don't run over it. Just tell me where it is. I'll go get it. Okay, anyway, good morning to you. Happy Thursday. We are recovering, like everybody else, from unbelievable weather conditions here in Southern Oregon. This has been a big one. One of the biggest ones in many, many, many years.
Yeah, I can't remember this station being closed down for a couple days for snow.
We couldn't operate. We had so many power outages, so many people couldn't get to work, things didn't work. We're, in time as we continue to build our infrastructure, we'll get out of some of these messes. But boy, oh boy, it really hit us hard, and it hit the town. Unlike the town is still slowed down. Yesterday, nobody was out doing anything. Right. So be careful out there. Let me just say this, that the Ashland School District, Butte Falls, Klamath County, Klamath City schools closed, Medford School District, Phoenix Talent, Prospect, Rivers Edge Academy, Rogue River School, Rogue Valley Adventist, Three Rivers School, and St. Mary's all closed. The Central Point School District, Eagle Point School District, and Grants Pass School District will be running on a 2-hour delay. So let me encourage you to please check the school's website to make sure, because those things can change. And as far as we know, I-5 over the Siskiyou is clear but icy, and the same thing over Mount Sexton, clear but icy. A lot of snow on the edge, so be careful out there. All right, the other thing is a little bit of backyard news. They finally settled the strike between Providence and the ONA nurses. They reached a deal in the last couple of days, and it looks like the 380 Medford Medical Center people will be going back to work along with doctors, 5,000 overall statewide. This was in effect for 26 days, so they have reached what they call, quote, a tentative agreement. I have no idea what the terms are. But it was interesting, I will say this, since we start talking about this, I got so many emails on both sides of the issue. I got people striking, and I got emails from people inside the administration and I'm looking at this and go, wow.
Did anybody sway you?
Well, I was really looking for a reason. Why do they get to this point? What's it really all about? How much money does an organization have in reserve that they can handle a strike? Because you have to hire outside people to do it. Well, when that resource goes down, the negotiation goes up a little bit higher.
I would think.
So it's a game right to the end. This is the animal that you have with unions. But anyway, they settled. So thank God, and get people back to work and get people healthy again. Let's take a look at Wall Street for a Thursday, see what's happening there. Thank you, Preston. And by the way, the Twin Peaks ice cream store is open. That's his other business. He has Smart Lawn, which if you're smart, you'll get his lawn. But his wife's running an ice cream and hot dog shop. Yet to get the menu, but I have had 3 people call me and say,
I could go for the hot dog.
Yeah, there you go.
Yeah.
All right, 21 points down for the Dow. The Nas is up almost 20, and the S&P up about 10. So no big numbers on Wall Street this morning. Coming out of the chutes a little bit, just kind of even. Gold's at 28.67. Silver's at 32.37, and crude oil actually down a buck, 74.30. So. I think the world's a little nervous about what the president's going to say next.
Perhaps that could be. Well, and with that in mind, it's interesting because I think some people may have been surprised not that Donald Trump won the election, but the mandate that came in that election.
Yeah.
It's surprising. And I've just mentioned to you, I'm reading here an article about his popularity has surged. His approval numbers are way up, his highest levels ever. So have Democrats figured out that they lost the election?
No. Well, I'll tell you what's happening. The Democrats have to play to their base, and their base is radical. And so, but that base is shrinking. The hardcore leftist core is going to hold together.
Right.
The fringe outside here is starting to peel off.
Unfortunately, that hardcore center, we keep hearing from them.
Yeah.
They are in disbelief. Well, GOP pollster Mitchell Brown's joined Stuart Varney. He answered the question, have they realized they lost the election? Let's listen in.
Hey, Stu. No, they clearly haven't. I don't want people to go watch it. I've already watched it for them, but some of the clips from the DNC vote on Saturday are out, and their platform clearly has not changed, and their leadership coming in has not picked up on these signs. We had a bunch of people go on stage yelling at the crowd members to be silent because a black woman is speaking. She is showcasing her power. They did not talk about economic policy. They talked about, as you showed that clip before, what gender or non-gender they need on the board here. So no, they haven't learned any lessons. They haven't learned a messaging plan. They also don't have a single policy that they could go out and actually give to the voters. But Trump's been adamant from the day one of this campaign, the things that we are going to do, what we are going to overhaul, what we are going to do to the corrupt system in D.C. And people are seeing that. What's going on with USAID currently, what's going on at the border, ICE cracking down. This is what people wanted to see. This is what people voted for. This is the mandate. And now the job is pushed to the Senate for this week to make sure that they confirm this mandate. The 3 people that are left to confirm this week are what the will of the people asked for. So it's, again, the job on the GOP senators to go out and confirm these nominees. Trump has the rest of the game plan ready to go. And people often give you more leeway when you are straightforward and tell people what you want to do and how you're going to fix something. They're going to allow you to go and try and do it.
Well, this is going to be the late Dr. Lamero that we used to have on quite a bit. He did modeling, forecasting, and modeling being that he would go back and look at trends, and he looked at the attitude of the country over the period of time, from George Washington all the way up. And you could see the attitude swings, which certainly creates a kind of like a political party swing. But the point being is, he said the attitude of the country will turn right and stay there for quite a while because the recovering from the nonsense that didn't work has cost us too much, almost cost us our sovereignty as a country, and that there will be a swing back to more right of center than it has been. So what's left on the left is fine. I tell you what the right ought to do, not talk about it. Let it die.
Oh, yeah. Well,
they can have. I saw part of that DNC thing. It was so stupid. I didn't even watch the rest of it.
Right. It is so dumb. They didn't have enough non-binary on the board, so they had to have another ballot go out, and then they informed them, you have to get basically a non-sex person in here.
Well, okay. And where does that resonate among a mother?
It doesn't.
Or a dad?
It doesn't.
Okay, so the only thing I can say is that let them go over there and cook what they want to do. You got a few people in the media that are going to carry the water.
Yeah.
Did you realize that CNN can't even muster up an average quarter hour of 500,000?
Wow.
I mean, so it's happening. And don't get me wrong. I mean, if you take Newsmax and Fox, they now control the media. ABC, NBC, CBS, which is now going to get sued they're going to get sued. Well, they're being sued by Trump, and they're going to get a fine from the FCC.
Right.
And is pretty much in trouble.
Yeah. Yeah.
MSNBC is a lost cause. So the only thing I can say is that they're just water carriers for this nonsense, and it's just trickling away.
Mm-hmm.
You know, I'm not saying Trump's perfect. Don't get me wrong, but the mood of the country is we're done with the baloney.
Yeah.
We've
seen, a number of these defamation suits, how they played out. Will the legacy news media learn anything from these things? Because the producer of 60 Minutes is digging in on this.
Well, let him dig.
Yeah.
Okay, the problem is with the legacy media is one thing. Ratings mean dollars.
Yes.
Ratings mean ad dollars.
Yes.
Now, there's a good news to this. More ad dollars are coming back to local television.
Oh.
Because the investment on a national scene is crazy. And can a company be identified with a media that's going downhill?
I don't think so. Yeah.
And so when DEI is being removed from corporate America, it hasn't completely, but it'll continue to move that way. I think Costco in time will have to dump it.
Yeah.
It's just a matter of time.
Yeah.
So when you get through all of that nonsense, it all equals dollars. It really does. You got to have money to turn the lights on. It's pretty simple.
Yeah.
I mean, who's left at CNN?
Yeah.
Have you turned it on and watched it?
No.
Have you seen a familiar face there lately?
I wouldn't know. Yeah.
There's kind of like people jump. I mean, if you're going to jump from a local news station to CNN, it's not a step up.
Hey, does CNN have any more airport contracts or anything like that anymore?
I understand that that's fading fast.
Okay.
So the point being is, and I just had an article, I sent it to our marketing director, and I would say that television, cable television is now in trouble. It's shifting around. And so you're going to go to streaming, and streaming is on the rise. And streaming primarily is what you want to see said the way you want it said.
Yes.
And that's all it is.
Right. Well, but streaming has actually even blossomed beyond that, because now you can get the same capability of cable TV through a stream. You can buy live TV streaming.
Yes.
So there's not only on demand, but you can get live TV as well. So I think cable news or the cable systems themselves have got to be in trouble.
Well, you can see the Dove online.
Yeah.
You can see the Dove on Roku.
All right.
And you can see the Dove on Apple TV.
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah.
It's everywhere.
Yeah.
Okay. And our numbers there are moving. So the only thing I can say is that the legacy media is definitely in trouble. And so is our time, huh?
No, I'm getting love notes sent to me. There was a heart on it. You know, when you get a text and your watch goes off with it, yeah. See that? Look at that. See the heart?
I just have bills. We'll be right back.
Good morning, honey.
Your yard is where life happens, but it can be muddy and hard to maintain. Enjoy a maintenance-free artificial turf lawn all year round with Smart Lawn LLC. No mowing, no fertilizing, no watering. Our synthetic grass is beautiful and resilient. It's certified to be lead-free, and there's no need for pesticides. Safe for your children and pets. Smart Lawn LLC has all your artificial turf and putting green areas covered beautifully. 541-941-3538.
Combining your home and auto insurance could save you time and money. And who doesn't like that? When you want surprisingly great rates on auto, home, and life, call State Farm agent Rory Wold in Medford today.
Like a good neighbor, State Farm is there.
Bulls, bears, and other market beasts. How can you be sure they won't eat your investments alive? I'm Michelle Slate. Lighthouse Financial shines guiding light on retirement, investing, and insurance. As you navigate the stormy seas of investing, Lighthouse stands out as a beacon of hope, offering you wise counsel and biblically responsible investing. Lighthouse Financial. Call us today, 541-494-5600. 1034.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you for your generous giving to the Dove.
We as the staff are so grateful you make it possible for us to broadcast hope.
All across the Dove TV and radio network.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Your support is touching and changing many lives.
And bringing much needed news and information
from a Christian worldview.
Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you for believing in, praying for, and supporting the Dove. All right, happy Thursday. Man, I keep thinking this is Monday. But it's not.
I know, yeah.
It's not. Again, we're back and limited. We do have a lot of problems out there. It's just showing up everywhere. But we're not alone. A lot of other media outlets, everybody else. When you have a storm that kind of caught us by surprise, actually that storm Monday wasn't supposed to show up till like Tuesday or Wednesday.
Yeah.
And it just dumped Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, and boy, it just shut this town down. So. But I'm hearing from people like in Salt Lake. I heard from people over in Bend. You know, you sissies. You know, hey, you guys, what are you doing with just a little foot of snow? And I go, hey, it shut the town down. We weren't getting any sympathy from anybody else around the valley.
No, I know.
Yeah,
I know.
okay.
And rightly so. No, I'm not going to say anything.
All right, let's check in with CBN Newswatch and get caught up on a lot of things.
This is CBN Newswatch.
Thank you so much for joining us for CBN Newswatch. I'm Ephraim Graham. One day after President Trump's surprising plan to take over the Gaza Strip, reactions are pouring in from Washington, D.C. to Gaza. As CBN's Chris Mitchell reports now from Jerusalem, the proposal is igniting debate, with some calling it a bold new approach, while others reject it outright.
Defense Secretary Pete Hegseth supporting the plan, speaking at the Pentagon alongside Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu.
As the President and Prime Minister pointed out last night, the President is willing to think outside the box, look for new and unique dynamic ways to solve problems that have felt like they're intractable.
Benjamin Netanyahu is also defending the proposal, highlighting what he sees as its benefits.
But the actual idea of allowing first Gazans who want to leave, I mean, what's wrong with that? They can leave, they can then come back, they can relocate and come back. It's a remarkable idea, and I think it should be really pursued.
However, many Palestinians strongly reject the idea.
We tell Trump that we will not leave Gaza, or an inch of it, and we will not sell our homeland. We will remain steadfast.
I am not leaving, neither me nor my children, family, daughters, or all my people. If we are going to die, then we will die on our sand. If they want to hit us with missiles or target us with airstrikes, we are still not leaving here.
Despite the strong opposition, polling data suggests that many young Gazans have considered leaving even before the war. A poll by the Palestinian Center for Policy and Survey Research found before October 7th that 44% of young Gazan men wanted to emigrate, while 31% of all Gazans wanted to leave. Some believe that after the devastation of 16 months of war and facing years of living in tents amid the rubble, those numbers will increase dramatically. Israeli Foreign Minister Gideon Sa'ar argues Gazans should have a choice.
As long as migration happens by an individual's free will, regardless of the location in the world, and as long as there is a country willing to accept that person, can anyone claim it is immoral?
Historian and former Israeli ambassador to the U.S., Michael Oren, wrote that Trump's proposal is changing the rules of the Middle East. Even if Trump's vision never materializes, he has fundamentally and irreversibly changed the conversation by upending long-held assumptions and introducing radical new ideas. He has opened the door to creative diplomacy and the possibility of a more stable and perhaps even peaceful Middle East. That conversation is far from over. Next week, the leader of one of the countries who has rejected President Trump's recommendation to take in Palestinian refugees, that's Jordan's King Abdullah, he visits the White House. And beyond that, more high-level discussions with regional leaders are already on the horizon. Ephraim?
Chris, who else is Prime Minister Netanyahu meeting with, and why are those meetings so significant while he's here?
Well, you know, he extended his visit till Saturday night, Ephraim, and the reason is many wanted to meet with him. Yesterday, he met with Vice President Vance. Also, National Security Advisor Mike Waltz. He's also saw, as we see in our report, Secretary of Defense Pete Hegseth. The reason it's significant is because it really represents a sea change in U.S.-Israel relations. The Biden White House had kept weapons from Israel. The Trump White House is releasing them. For example, last year, Vice President Kamala Harris, she actually refused to come to the address when Netanyahu spoke to a joint session of Congress. And even the rhetoric is different, and the reception Netanyahu got at the White House far different than he got from the reception from the Biden administration just last year.
President Trump says Gaza is like a demolition site. How would you describe what you're seeing in Gaza?
Well, I saw that several months ago last year. Ephraim, we traveled to see one of the Hamas tunnels with the IDF. And even then, that was in Khan Yunis. We saw widespread destruction. Trump is stating the obvious. Gaza really, in many ways, is inhabitable. And why is it a demolition site, as he describes it? Well, actually, over the last 20 years or so, when Hamas took over in 2007, it really became a massive military base. And we were briefed by the IDF. It really became, some people call it the largest terror base in the world. There were weapons and tunnels nearly everywhere, in mosques, schools, even in children's bedrooms. They would have RPGs. And that's why much of the fighting over the last 15 to 16 months has been house to house, from neighborhood to neighborhood. Hence, the destruction that you see there in Gaza, and why President Trump is advising that let's rebuild it. But in the meantime, let Gazans leave if they want to.
Oh, there you go. Turn it into a Middle East Riviera.
Oh, man.
I wonder what he's got in mind. I'm trying to figure out legally, is Gaza sovereign?
That's a great question. Yeah.
Or was it just a two-state peace deal?
I don't know. But like Trump said, we'll own it. What's that mean?
Well, he said that to Greenland. He said that to Canada. He said that to Panama. I'm trying to wonder when he's going to get his eye, as Rush Limbaugh would say, on the left coast.
Oh, yeah.
When he's going to get his eye on California, Oregon, and Washington.
Yeah. Well, you know, we were surprised when he held rallies in California, you know, during the election cycles. Like, are you kidding me?
So, have you noticed one other little thing? He met with Governor Newsom yesterday.
Okay.
We've heard nothing about that meeting.
I haven't,
There's nothing in the news about it.
Huh.
What does that tell you?
I don't know.
Well, it tells me that we need to talk to... Man, are we this far behind?
Are we?
Let's take a look at the weather.
As systems continue to move across the Pacific Northwest, today in northern Oregon and southern Washington, a slight chance of snow showers, then partly sunny with daytime high temperatures in the low 40s for Vancouver, Portland, Wilsonville, and McMinnville with a light north wind. Continuing down the Willamette Valley with a slight chance of rain and snow, then mostly cloudy in low 40s for Salem and Albany. A chance of rain and snow in Corvallis with a high near 39 and Eugene near 40. In central Oregon, a chance of snow in mid to upper 30s for Prineville and Bend. Snow likely in Sun River with a high near 33 with lows in the teens. Over in Boise, Idaho, cloudy and low 40s. Along the Oregon coast, showers likely mainly before 10 a.m., then a chance of rain after 1 with daytime highs near 46 for Coos Bay, Port Orford, and Brookings, and near 49 in Crescent City, California. In southern Oregon, a chance of rain and snow, then rain after 1 p.m. for Grants Pass, Medford, and Ashland with highs near 39. In the Klamath Basin, snow showers with highs in the mid-30s. Into northern California, a chance of snow, then rain and snow and near 37 in Wairika. Rain showers for Redding and Chico with daytime highs near 47, and Sacramento near 52 with a light southeast wind. In the Bay Area, rain and patchy fog before 10 a.m. for Santa Rosa and Napa with daytime highs near 51. Rain in San Francisco with a high near 57 and a light east wind. And today in San Jose, rain with a high near 58. It's a look at your Thursday weather on the Dove.
All right, there's an interesting shot from the top of Roxanne. You can see the snow-covered mountains around the valley and then the socked-in fog on the valley floor.
At first we thought it might be Crater Lake.
Yeah, that's what I thought it looked like.
Yeah.
That's actually the fog, and so we stepped outside a few moments ago, and sure enough, it's on the ground.
Yeah.
And it's icy. It's very icy out there, so drive carefully. It's 33 degrees.
Yeah,
that's
just borderline.
Just right there.
Yeah, but it's slick. Be careful. Well, you know, while searching for a story for On This Day in History, I came upon one that I was totally unaware of. Now, this was for yesterday's On This Day in History, but I had to tell the story anyway about when the U.S. lost a nuclear bomb.
On February 5th, 1958, off the coast of Georgia, a B-47 Stratojet bomber carrying a nuclear bomb was mid-flight conducting a routine training mission when disaster struck. In the skies above Tybee Island, a sudden collision with an F-86 fighter jet sent shockwaves through the crew. The pilot of the fighter jet parachuted to safety, but the B-47 remained airborne, plummeting from 38,000 feet until the pilot regained control at 20,000 feet. As they prepared for an emergency landing, permission was granted to jettison their nuclear payload, fearing it might explode if they tried to land with it. The bomb plunged into the waters below, its fate uncertain. The bomber made an emergency landing, but the payload, a 7,600-pound Mark 15 thermonuclear bomb, vanished into the deep blue. Despite several attempts over the decades to locate the weapon, it remains lost somewhere beneath the waves off Tybee Island. The U.S. government has never fully declassified the details, and to this day the bomb's final resting place is a mystery, leaving behind an eerie legacy of a moment that could have changed history.
Off the Georgia coast, real close to Savannah, off Tybee Island.
Wow.
That's a big dude, too. That's a big bomb that they couldn't find.
I wonder if the salt water over a period of time did something to it.
Great question. I wonder.
You know?
Yeah. I don't know.
Okay, well, okay, we're going to tiptoe. We'll be right back.
Okay.
The Lennox iComfort S30 thermostat can sense changes in your environment. It even knows when you come and go. So now your home's most important system is also the smartest.
Metal Masters can give you the smartest home comfort system available. It knows when you're away and adjusts when allergens and humidity get uncomfortable. Trust Metal Masters to provide perfect air for your family.
Lennox. Air is life. Make it perfect.
Hi, I'm the SOS Alarm guy, here to tell you about a great deal. SOS Alarm will not only beat any internet deal, but will install the system too. So burglars, beware. SOS Alarm for security and beyond.
If you don't drive it, donate it. By supporting us, you'll get even more mileage out of it.
Thank you from the Dove TV.
As the world watches from the outside,
It's a big diplomatic tug of war here in the Middle East.
go inside the story with Jerusalem Dateline.
Israeli archaeologists are talking about a discovery that could change the thinking about the Temple Mount.
Join CBN Jerusalem Bureau Chief Chris Mitchell and get the biblical perspective on the events shaping the world.
What starts in Israel then ends up going to other places.
Watch Jerusalem Dateline.
Weeknights at 9:30 on the Dove TV.
Okay, welcome back. 10 minutes before the top of the hour. Drive carefully out there. A lot of ice, a lot of ice, a lot of ice. And then we have some fog out there, at least in our own backyard. I haven't heard any planes depart this morning, so that tells me it's below minimums. But it is supposed to warm up a little bit later on today and possible rain, so we'll see how that goes. I'm going to have Pastor Stephen Broden on. Boy, it's been a while since I had him. He's quite the activist. He's a founder of the National Black Pro-Life Coalition. The author of an interesting book called Pawns of Change, and we'll be discussing now the pro-life movement in the United States. Now, as much as the pro-life issue left the federal government, went to the states. Some say that is kind of like the platform for the Department of Education. It'll leave federal oversight and go back to the states. That's at least what the president's emphasizing. I'm also going to have Matt Purple back on. He's the author of Decline from the Top. And he'll be talking about the recent 10 days of the president's action. Is it really reshaping America? Is it uniting or dividing? I don't know. One article yesterday, and I will say this, I don't take this to the bank, but everybody said, well, the country's still divided, 52 to 48 or something like that. You know, after the election. Well, that's how people voted. But now that the election is over and President Trump's doing all these sweeping changes, one article said it could be 30-70 swing in the United States. 30% staying on the left side of the equation and 70% moving to the right of center. So we'll see. I don't know if that's accurate or not, but the bottom line is everything's moving with President Trump right now.
That would be a cataclysmic shift. That would be amazing.
Well, that also tells you the remaining hardcore left, even whether it's the legacy media or just the left itself. But their election of their new officers at the DNC, they actually went further left.
Yes, they did. Yes.
They went from crazy to really crazy.
Really crazy,
and so I don't know where that's going to go.
When you have to have another ballot because you didn't get enough non-binaries on the board, you got big problems.
So you're not going for people of merit? You're going for people of...
It's all appearance.
Oh, gosh.
Yep, 100%.
Crazy.
Wow, okay. Well, have you noticed the playgrounds of the modern era are significantly different than the playgrounds on which we played on?
Yeah.
The equipment was higher. It was much more dangerous. It spun faster.
I stood up leaning over the cab of my dad's truck at 40 and 50 miles an hour. As a kid. No seatbelt, no nothing.
We were tough kids. Well, sometimes the things that are old are new again, and that is the case for risky playgrounds in the Netherlands. Parts of Dutch society are campaigning to bring risky playgrounds back into their cities and towns as concerns about too much time spent indoors, helicopter parenting, and childhood diabetes risks grow. Some are merely advocating playgrounds with potentially dangerous toys, such as merry-go-rounds and monkey bars, but others are seeking places for their children to be able to start fires, build with hammers, and play fighting games with sticks. No one wants their children to be injured, of course, but the policy proposal acknowledges that without spaces to explore and challenge themselves in, kids risk losing the opportunity to develop crucial skills. According to the policy, roughy-tufty playing means that children might get a bump or cut, but they say it's an acceptable risk. One of the advocates for the new playgrounds, Rob Hofland, said, "The inspiration, and it really is a huge problem, is that children are hardly moving. All kinds of problems stem from just sitting behind a screen." According to research from the Dutch Diabetes Research Foundation, children are on average spending twice as much time indoors today than before the pandemic lockdowns, while motor skills have declined so much that many children can no longer catch a ball. In Amsterdam, some parents and organizations are taking this principle to the extreme in the form of Woeste Westen, or Wild West. In this radical play space, kids can go fishing, climb trees, build huts, start and cook with open fires, and play with real tools like hammers and knives, all in the name of helping them develop the mental, physical coordination that an adult relies upon to navigate potentially dangerous situations. Of course, there will be scrapes, bruises, and a scar or two, but who said an enjoyable life is painless?
I am so for this.
Yeah, me too.
I am so for this. I realize I would imagine those parents will have to sign some kind of
a waiver.
A waiver.
Yeah.
But
probably.
Look, you know, standing on the swing and being pushed in the air 30 feet. That was like an everyday occurrence.
Yes.
You know?
Well, standing up on the swings, because you can pump them higher.
You can pump them higher.
And then you're at the height of it, and then you let go and jump off.
And you jump off.
Right.
Yeah.
Oh, man. And then when that wasn't enough, we would climb up the poles and climb over those swings on the poles.
Yes.
Oh, my gosh.
Oh,
Yeah.
I think this is wonderful. I really, kids are locked up. Get them out.
Yeah, and especially they mentioned the screen time, and that's a phenomenon we never had to deal with. You know, the only screen time we had was, in front of the TV after school, and there was 3 channels to pick from.
Well, if I had the time, money, and age ahead of me, I'd do one of my dreams, and that is a latchkey farm. And the school bus would drop them off, and they'd spend at least 2 hours on the farm and let the parents come pick them up.
Outstanding.
Take a young boy, 7 or 8 years old, let him drive a combine.
Yes.
Take a young girl and put her on a horse, or out in the garden picking and planting flowers.
Yes.
I'm telling you, it'll change their life.
Outstanding.
So much for that sermon.
Okay.
Acts 1:8. But you will receive power when the Holy Spirit comes upon you, and you will be my witnesses in Jerusalem, in all Judea, Samaria, and the ends of the earth. Look at that order. Jerusalem, home. Judea, Oregon, Samaria, the United States, and the ends of the earth, mission fields. If your ministry doesn't work at home, don't export it.
Finding that next great series to binge watch is fun, but your neck, shoulders, and body don't count that as me time. Hi, I'm Tamara Miller, owner of Organic Element Spa, and I invite you to put down the remote, get off the couch, and schedule yourself some real me or we time with your favorite service, like one of our many massages, couples massages, or facials. Your health, safety, and comfort are always top priority with us at Organic Element Spa. We can't wait to see you. Book your appointment today.
Come fall in love with Northridge Senior Living, where contemporary sunlit interiors meet old world elegance. Walk through our lovely hallways and enjoy the fun staff-led activities. Forge lasting friendships with other residents and our exceptional caregivers. Dine in style. Gather near the fireplace under breathtaking chandeliers. Our reasonably priced apartments are spacious with private balconies. Northridge is Christian-owned and operated, pet-friendly, and only 2 blocks from Asante Rogue Regional Medical Center. On-site 24/7 in-home care is available. We also offer senior adult daycare where your loved one can spend the day with us and the evenings with you. Northridge Senior Living, your home.
Your landlord's insurance won't cover your belongings in a fire or theft. Protect yourself with renter's insurance. It covers your belongings, provides liability protection, and may pay for additional living expenses if a covered loss forces you to temporarily move out. Renter's insurance is affordable, often less than $20 a month. Be sure to ask about bundling discounts. The Division of Financial Regulations Renter's Insurance Shopping Tool can help you compare policies. Go to dfr.oregon.gov.
Before the big game, join us for inspiring Super Bowl stories from the best teams in the NFL.
When it comes to this game, how does your faith help keep all of that in perspective?
I want God's will to be done. I want God to be glorified.
I don't play this game for anything else but the man up top.
It can't be a shame to give him all the credit.
For God, all things are possible.
Watch the 700 Club Thursday morning at 11 on the Dove TV.
For a free copy of The Word for You Today Quarterly Devotional, visit theDove.us.
Experienced Middle East Bureau Chief Chris Mitchell brings you Jerusalem Dateline, weeknights at 9:30 on the Dove TV, encouraging and informative.
Well, welcome to Focus Today. I'm your host, Perry Atkinson, and really delighted and perfect timing to have back with us today Matt Purple. He is the author of Decline from the Top. He also snapshots from American crises and glimmers of hope. He's the editor and journalist for quite a few magazines and periodicals: The Spectator, The American Conservative, National Review, The Washington Examiner, just to mention a few. There's a picture of the cover of his book on the screen there, Decline, from the top there, so check it out. Matt, good to see you again. How are you, friend?
Hi, Perry. I'm doing well. How are you?
Good. Where are you? Where are we Skyping you in from?
I'm in Alexandria, Virginia, on a very rainy day here today.
Okay. Well, we're borderline snowed in here, so
Yeah.
good going. Good to see you again. Thanks for your time. Wow, it's been quite of a whirlwind a couple of weeks with this new administration. What's your 30,000-foot view?
I think that Donald Trump is moving fast and not being afraid to break things if he needs to. I mean, you're right. It's been a real whirlwind. It can be hard to believe we're only about 2.5 weeks, I think under 2.5 weeks into the administration. He's already laid out a plan for trying to cut government spending, trying to overhaul the way government functions with DOGE. He's already, acted like he was going to start a trade war with Canada and Mexico, only to come to an agreement with them. We still have the tariffs up on China, but there's some, maybe going to be some movement eventually there as well. And just on, he's already sat down with Benjamin Netanyahu. So just on issue after issue, I think you're seeing a real surge of energy. And you often hear, we used to talk a lot about, especially during the Obama administration, a president's first 100 days, this idea from the FDR administration that, what can you get done in that honeymoon period when you have that early burst of energy? I think Trump is trying to get done a lot. And I think some of that stems from his first term, too, when he feels like he was stemmed. He was blocked in some ways from accomplishing his agenda by, actors within the government, his own cabinet in certain cases. I think he's determined to make up for lost time this time around.
What do you think his impact is with mentioning things that nobody else has thought about? Greenland, maybe annexing it in as a lot line adjustment with Maine, Canada being the 51st state, taking Panama back, and now maybe taking over Gaza. Those are wild things, but it moves the ball. What do you think internationally this means?
I think it's going to depend on what actually comes of this, right? It's still not entirely clear whether Trump is using this as leverage to try to get the border secure, to try to get things that he wants. I think that looks the clearest, given that he's postponed tariffs on both Canada and Mexico for the next month, or whether he does intend to be pretty aggressive. Whether he wants to bring in new territory into the United States, whether he's genuinely interested in Greenland, genuinely interested in Canada. It could be that both are kind of true at the same time. I've heard from people who say that his interest in Greenland is genuine, and when he's kind of like, when he gets something in his teeth, he can't let go of it. He just really wants it and he goes for it. So we'll see. It's going to prove interesting, but I think Trump's perspective right now, the Trump message right now is we are the most powerful, dynamic country in the world, and we do a lot for other nations. We are very interconnected with other countries through treaties, through the aid that we provide, through trade and so on. And we need to do more. We need to be getting more out of some of these relationships, starting with Canada and Mexico, starting with this fentanyl plague, really, that we've had here in the United States. And so he's leaning hard on that American advantage. He's leaning hard on the fact that we are the most powerful, economically successful country in the world. So it's certainly an aggressive perspective. We'll see where he takes it. We'll see how long it holds up.
Yesterday, Pam Bondi, was sworn in. Within hours, she's making some pretty fast decisions. It seems to be parallel to what the president wants and cleaning things up. What kind of an impact do you think is in that the DOJ is in for?
It remains to be seen, and I'll tell you why. Because it is very hard to change the civil service. And many a president has tried. The Reagan administration tried in many respects. That kind of got caught up in other priorities like waging the Cold War. Trump, to a more limited extent, tried in his first term. But the so-called deep state, as he likes to put it, they are autonomous to a certain extent, and they do have their own agenda, and they will try to block the agenda of presidents who they see as being out of line, who they don't agree with. They can slow walk things. All of this really does happen. And I think what particularly motivates Trump is that he views the DOJ as having gone after him personally. Trump is very much a personalist, and he takes this very personally. In particular, what happened with the DOJ, it sets it apart from, say, the EPA or the Department of Interior. He might have a more reformist perspective there, but it's not, hey, they tried to throw me in prison. It's not. So I think he's going to be particularly motivated. We're seeing real attempts at change, for example, with these government buyouts, with some of the funding that initially got frozen to the civil service. I think some of that is signaling. It's saying, look, the president has a right to attorneys at the Department of Justice and civil servants throughout the government who agree with him and who want to implement his agenda. He is the only officer in the executive branch who is in the Constitution. He's the only officer who is directly elected by the people, who answers to the people in a democratic republic. And therefore, he has the say here. And you can kind of get on board or get out. It's again, the civil service is very difficult. It doesn't turn easily. It's like a giant tank. It just takes a long time to kind of spin around. But Trump has made it clear this is what he wants.
There is one thing else that's happening here that could speed up the turnaround, and that is across the board, especially as his new leaders of agencies get into place. He's basically saying, step up and let us buy you out, or you're out. And that kind of elimination of employees all the way down through the ranks, I mean, that is a pretty significant deal that could speed up a turnaround, don't you think?
I think it's saying two things. It's saying, first of all, he wants that loyal civil service. It's also saying, subsequent Congress after subsequent Congress has tried to cut the budget, the federal budget. We've had filibusters, we've had, debt ceiling showdowns, on and on, really starting around 2010 for the past 15 years or so. And nothing has ever seriously gotten done. The budget has just continued to grow. The national debt has continued to grow. And I think he's saying, okay, we need to get this down to size. We need to make sure that we're being responsible to our children, and we need to make sure we have a responsible federal budget. And one way to do that is to kind of combine these two threads and say, hey, if you don't want to work for me, that's okay. You can go, and we'll either find somebody else to replace you who's on board, or maybe we won't replace you at all. I think that's probably he and Elon Musk are probably looking at the civil service from a business perspective, and they figure that's the first step. That's the first step to downsizing, so to speak. So go ahead.
Excuse me. That's his entrepreneurial experience coming out from running a business. But on the other hand, he is cutting the budget without going through Congress.
Yes, he is, and I'm torn about this because I'm a good old-fashioned conservative constitutionalist. I believe in the Constitution, and it's the power of the purse is right there in Article 1, right? It does. Congress is really supposed to be doing this, and maybe in a more sane age, we could have gotten the appropriation committees to take this seriously. But Congress has really been derelict on this. They've had all these chances. They've had all these Tea Party reformers who came in, and nothing has gotten done. Maybe you look somewhere else. Maybe you try a Hail Mary, you try something different like the Doge, like Elon Musk. There's no guarantee it's going to work because eventually this is going to have to go through Congress. And you look at the Grace Commission back under Ronald Reagan, which tried to recommended budget cuts too, and it didn't go anywhere because Democrats controlled Congress, so they just buried it. That being said, you do have Republican majorities, albeit tight Republican majorities in both houses. So it bodes better than it did under Reagan, I think.
Were you surprised, Matt, to see the list of unbelievable expenditures at the USAID office?
Yes, and Caroline Leavitt, the president's press secretary, is kind of taking a page out of Rand Paul's playbook, because Rand Paul for years has been publishing these rundowns of all just the ridiculous things that government spends money on, the studies on the mating habits of fruit flies and so on. And the White House has now kind of taken this up. They're talking about the birth control to Gaza and all the ridiculous USAID, the DEI office stuff. And I think, that's not necessarily a majority of government spending, but I think it gets people's attention because they understand that the government fiscally is not in a good place. So you got to kind of get down to the essentials, right? And so why are you spending money on all these things that not only sound like luxuries, but just sound plain ridiculous?
So how in the world can the left defend what U.S. aid has done? From the list that I saw of the weekend, it looked like 30 to 40% of the list was driven by social issues, primarily LGBTQ and transgender issues. That's a big portion. How in the world can the left justify that money going to foreign countries to advance that agenda?
Because I think they see those issues as just another part of human rights. Like we're the United States, we stand for human rights, therefore we stand for LGBTQ issues too, gay issues too. And I think that's now there's going to be very real pushback against that, because I think what Trump has signaled is that he wants a war on woke, that we're folding all the DEI. It's not just about the DEI offices within the government, although he's gotten rid of those pretty handily and pretty quickly. It's about this entire ideology that says we need to be funding, LGBTQ issues. We need to be investing government money in left-wing identity politics, really. I think a lot of what's happening right now is ideological warfare and saying we don't believe in this ideology. You've been funding this ideology for a long time, and we're going to shut it down. And, whenever a Republican president comes into office, one of the first things he does is just flip back the Mexico City policy, which allows, when Democrats come in, they allow taxpayer money to fund abortions in foreign countries. Republicans come in, they stop that, right? That's typical ping pong back and forth. What we're seeing now, I think, is a much broader interpretation of what social conservatism can look like within the federal government, which is to say not just the usual measures, the kind of sops to the base, but no, we're going to make a real effort to make sure the civil service is on board with what we believe and what we view to be socially, I don't know about socially conservative, but just sane, rather than woke.
One quick question before I take a break. Over the weekend, there's quite a movement against Elon Musk involvement, saying he's a non-elected official. What power does he have? Well, he really doesn't have any power. He just has the ability to suggest things to the president. He has the power. But do you think Elon's in trouble, or does he survive this?
We'll see. It could be. There's always rivalries that form within the federal government, and if an advisor gets too powerful, it can tick off people elsewhere in the administration, elsewhere in the Congress. Elon Musk, from what we know, is not necessarily on the best terms with people even in Mar-a-Lago. So it could be that, this is not going to be the longest lasting relationship. But I will say that the idea that somehow you can't have special advisors in the federal government is just nonsense. I mean, you might remember under the Obama administration, you had all these czars that President Obama brought in, which were basically just special advisors, kind of like Elon Musk, paid special advisors who advised the president on climate change and on, fiscal stuff and so on. In fact, the Obama administration set a record for the number of czars they brought in. So this does happen. It's the first time I think we've had somebody who is the richest man in the world serving in that position, but it's not like it's totally unprecedented.
Was there any indication of a fallout between Musk and Ramaswamy, or is it just Ramaswamy running to run for governor?
It depends on whether you believe all the rumors that are published in, various DC publications. I mean, this town is just all about innuendo and whispers, and everybody's always talking behind somebody else's back. I mean, it's exhausting, frankly, Perry. But yeah. I would say that if you do believe that, then Ramaswamy had ticked off some people within the administration, and some of that surely came from his coming out as strongly in favor of the H-1B visas and sending tweets that could be interpreted as insulting American workers. That isn't necessarily a conflict that the Trump administration wants to have right now. But I think that, whatever the case is, he's not going to be a major player anymore. And we'll see what he's able to do in Ohio.
All right, let me take a quick break. Let me say to our viewers and listeners, where can they get your book, Matt?
Best place to go is just Amazon.com. You can type in Decline from the Top in the search box.
All right, check that out, and we'll take a quick break. We'll be right back.
Looking for the perfect RV adventure?
Team Toner's got you covered from homes to homes on wheels.
Discover unbeatable deals only at American RV in Southern Oregon.
Combining your home and auto insurance could save you time and money. And who doesn't like that? When you want surprisingly great rates on auto, home, and life, call State Farm agent Rory Wold in Medford today.
Like a good neighbor, State Farm is there.
If you enjoy the Dove TV, tell a friend or family member. If they can't receive a signal, the Dove streams worldwide on Roku and Apple TV, plus online at theDove.us. Help encourage someone who needs hope. Spread the word about the Dove TV.
Mornings on the Dove is unlike anything you'll experience. Not only will we fulfill our goal to bring you encouragement, but we'll also fulfill our goal in bringing you information that you need.
I think the biggest thing that we are hoping to accomplish in the morning show and bring to the viewers is hope. As we look at the events that are swirling around us, seemingly at times that are way beyond our control, we look to the hope that we have in Jesus Christ and what He has given for us.
We select the top stories. We try to make you informed so you're a good citizen to start your day. But most of all, to give you the encouragement so that you can have a good day and a happy day.
We seem to have a lot of fun on camera because we are having a lot of fun on camera. We have a great rapport. We go back and forth. Perry's like one of the funniest guys I've ever seen.
Wake up to hope. Watch Mornings on the Dove. Weekdays only on the Dove TV.
Okay, welcome back. An honor to have back with us today Matt Purple. He's the author of a fascinating book called Decline from the Top. You can Google that there at Amazon and download it or purchase it there. He's also an editor and journalist for, The Spectator, The American Conservative, National Review, Washington Examiner, just to mention a few. His book is a fascinating read and very strategic. It deals with snapshots from America's crises and glimmers of hope. Check it out. Matt, you recently spoke about the decline of traditional institutions like religion and education. The president seems to be pretty bent on eliminating the Department of Education, and just this morning, as he was speaking at the National Prayer Breakfast, he announced a commission to protect religious rights and freedoms in America. Where do you think those two things are going?
I think they're encouraging. I think when it comes to the Department of Education, we really began federalizing education in this country in earnest in the 1970s. The government also got involved in the student loan business back then, of course, too. And we've seen a fall off in test scores, in metrics. All the while, by the way, we've also seen college getting more and more and more unaffordable and more expensive. And, millennials graduating from college with an average of like $20,000 in unpaid student loans. That's a massive amount. So we're paying more and getting less is, I think, the right way to look at it. And, I don't think you can blame the Department of Education for all of that. There's a lot of different factors that run into that. There's ideology in the classroom and in the college. There's, an over-bureaucratization of our universities and even of our schools in some cases. But certainly I think what we can say is this experiment in federalization has not made sense. It has not worked out the way everybody was hoping for it to. And so it may be that it's time to try something different. And religious schools, Christian schools, have a role to play in that, of course. And, Trump seems to be signaling that they are going to be protected, that their right to teach, their right to educate, and their right to practice their religion freely is going to be protected too.
So do you think this eventually will move towards a voucher system?
Maybe. I mean, so far that's been more of a state level issue. And we've seen some encouraging, like the Supreme Court case up there in Maine that found that, that protected religious schools when it came to vouchers. There's been, some encouraging developments in this regard. I do think certainly this is a marked departure from the Obama administration, for example, where the first thing he did when he came into office was to cancel the DC voucher program, just got rid of it. Here he is promising to help the disadvantaged and the poor. And the first thing he does is to take poor children and tell them, no, sorry, you have to go into these failure factory public schools along with everybody else. That's not going to be the Trump approach. And I think it's a very good thing that that's not going to be his approach.
So it's possible, a little bit of a parallel here, it's possible that education could go to the way of Roe versus Wade. It gets out of the federal control and set back to the state control, which will be a state battle. Is that how you see it going?
Maybe, yeah. And you could certainly argue that that's the best way to go. There was a lot of thinking about that back when we had Common Core under Barack Obama, which was, again, another federalization of state, of the education system. It's not just Democrats who do that, by the way. You had No Child Left Behind under George W. Bush. But there's a lot of talk about, okay, this is not working. We should restore education powers to the states, which is how they used to be. On the other hand, our education system is so messed up and has become so shabby that you wonder if it has reached the point where it's a national issue, and we need something like a national curriculum or even just a national set of parameters to make sure children are being taught. It's a tricky subject. Conservatives, we tend to be states' rights types. We like it when change starts at the bottom and then goes up to the top. And so localism is really the best way to proceed. Subsidiarity, as the Catholics would say. On the other hand, I think we are talking about a problem that is national in scope. Yeah. And so you could really go either way on that.
Well, the president pretty much drilling down on this over the weekend or the last couple of days said that, out of the 40 top countries, we're number 40. We went from 37 to 40. That's a wake-up call to a lot of parents. Here in the state of Oregon, we're down at the bottom. We spend more money and get less results. So something's happened to education. There's a lot of finger-pointing going on. But the basics of education have been replaced with the indoctrination of wokeness. So there seems to be something's hit the wall here. It's decision time. I'm wondering if America's ready for this battle.
Yeah, I remember when I was a kid, the Oregon public school system was always notorious. We were always aware of it as being like, this is not what you want to do. So it's interesting to hear that still hasn't changed. It's, and there's another problem too, which is that you have this ideology, this left-wing woke ideology, and it really teaches you to dislike your own country. It says that we are a colonialist power, that we're racist, that, just flawed from the start. There's very little to admire about America because we're so bigoted. And remember, and this goes back to C.S. Lewis, The Abolition of Man. The purpose of an education is not just to make sure that people know things and are prepared for a career. It's to make sure that they can be responsible, active citizens. It's to prepare them not just for adulthood, but for citizenship. And if you're teaching people that the country in which you're going to be a citizen is just irredeemable, is beyond hope, you're not doing a good job of doing that. You're not doing that effectively. So I think we need to keep that in mind as we move forward too. How do we teach in a way that not just prepares kids for the future and ushers them into the next STEM job or whatever, but also prepares them to be good American citizens?
I want to come to your book in just a moment here, but one more big question. How shook up is Washington, D.C. these days?
Pretty shook. DC is funny, and I'm sure it differs from like Portland in this way, in that there actually have to be Republicans here, because there's Republican members of Congress and so on. So it's not as monolithically liberal or left wing as I think a lot of cities sometimes are. But it's still by far a liberal city. I mean, it's still an urban area, right? And so the civil service is definitely watching their backs right now. And there's a lot of uncertainty about the future. Am I going to have a job? Where is Trump going to go with this? I know people who have gotten those buyout offers who are, considering what they want to do. So it's shaken up. It's definitely shaken up. But, remember too, Washington, D.C. has done nothing but grow, except maybe during COVID, has done very little except grow over the past 15 years or so. So it's not, there's kind of a Crimea River factor there too.
Oh, so much here. Just kind of wrap it up. Let me say to our viewers and listeners, get a copy of his book. I think you'll find it to be very interesting. It goes back in order for you to get information to go forward. Decline from the Top, and it's snapshots from America's crises and glimmers of hope. Matt, kind of looking back a little bit from your book, we've been on this steady, yes, government's growing and become more intrusive, and all of a sudden it hit the wall. This last election cycle, it's more than just a Trump win. A lot of ideologies hit the wall. They didn't work. They don't resonate in people's souls. And we've now, you talk about the Great Reset. The irony of it, the Great Reset might have been Trump instead of the World Global Association or the World Economic Forum. I mean, it's kind of interesting. Looking back, what do you think was the pivotal moment in the past couple of decades that made America's current state a crisis?
Oh, there's a lot of them. I think that one moment we never quite recovered from was the crash in 2008. And that had untold effects, everything from it stunted millennials' economic growth, us getting married and us getting houses and so on, to it really accelerated existing trends within our economy. And as a result, a lot of places that were deindustrializing or were struggling, they got even more pushed to the margins. It really drove, despite all the spending during the Obama administration, it drove inequality. And I think that is the seeds of the Trump administration, where you have this sense that there's a certain cadre of people in our cities, globalists, whatever, who are getting ahead, but there's a lot of areas that are left behind too. And those areas that are left behind are becoming more conscious of it and are determined to have a kind of political leveling. They want a political solution. A lot of that, I think, traces back to trends that began in 2008 that we've never quite gotten past. And, you combine that, I think, with the decline of traditional values and Christianity that we've seen since the 1960s in this country. And there isn't that, you don't always have the church downtown as the center of town life where you can go, where you can, to really gather people in and to give them a kind of sense of meaning and a sense of spirit. I think in addition to being economically lagging, we also feel like we're spiritually lagging a little bit too. And I think we've reached an inflection point where people feel like whatever this is, it's not working, and Donald Trump is our means of disruption.
One last quick question. There's an article out today. I got to research this a little bit, but it was saying that 52% of teenagers now are open to considering learning more about Christ. What does that tell you?
It tells me that we've handed them a world that, again, is not working for them. This is iGen, so-called. They grew up on their iPhones. They grew up in front of screens. They grew up just a very different life than even me, a child of the 90s, understood. And they also grew up in a world that really wasn't churched. It just a lot of the way that American life looked, even for me, and certainly 50 years ago, it was very, very different for them. And I think they're starting to realize, like, yeah, I can look at anything I want in an instant on my phone. I have, I can push a button and I can have anything arrive at my front door. but there's something missing. There's something deeper and something more transcendent that just isn't there. And none of the really reigning ideologies, maybe not even Trumpism, really are answering them on that. And so they are. There's still my sense of talking to teenagers and Gen Z is they're still skeptical of what they call organized religion. They're not necessarily ready to go, jump in the Jordan, go back to church yet. But I think there's a curiosity about spirituality and about religion that as they age, as they mature, could really become something.
Good stuff. Thank you for your time. You're fascinating. I look forward to more visits. Let me say to our viewers and listeners, check out Matt's book. It's called Decline from the Top, Snapshot from America's Crises and Glimmers of Hope. Do you have a website?
I don't know, but you can check out the book on Amazon.com.
Okay, good. Hey, thanks for your time, Matt. I enjoyed it immensely. Look forward to more visits.
Thank you, Barry.
All right, God bless.
Your yard is where life happens, but it can be muddy and hard to maintain. Enjoy a maintenance-free artificial turf lawn all year round with Smart Lawn LLC. No mowing, no fertilizing, no watering. Our synthetic grass is beautiful and resilient. It's certified to be lead-free, and there's no need for pesticides. Safe for your children and pets. Smart Lawn LLC has all your artificial turf and putting green areas covered beautifully. 541-941-3538.
Welcome back. It's been quite a while, and I'm so delighted to have him back. Our special guest, Pastor Stephen Broden. He's the senior pastor of the Fair Park Bible Fellowship in Dallas, Texas. He's the executive director of the Content of Character series. He's also the co-founder of the National Black Pro-Life Coalition and the author of a fascinating book entitled Pawns of Change. And there's a picture of the cover of the book on the screen. He has a couple of websites, contentofcharacterseries.com and destroythedemocraticparty.com. Wow. So check those two out. And Pastor Broden, so good to see you again, friend. How are you?
I'm glad to be with you, Terry. I'm excited to be with you today.
It's been too long. So how, just kind of curious, a little bit of a 30,000-foot view question. What do you think? With all the actions of the new administration in just about 10, 14 days?
Well, I think it's exciting to observe and to process what's happening through the lens of our faith. And I think that's the challenge for you and I as believers, is to see what's happening from the perspective of the biblical view. And I think that's the challenge for evangelicals today. We have been so discouraged and somewhat defeated by what has happened to our nation with respect to the Democrat Party and what they have perpetrated on our culture, that we sometimes are not listening to what God may be saying to us. as we experience these things in the physical realm. But there's a spiritual reality that we must connect with and process what we see through the lens of our faith. And I think that's our challenge. I think it's exciting. And certainly I am glad to know that Trump won and that Kamala Harris did not win. More excited about that than anything, that they did not win and that we stopped them from destroying our nation. But at the same time, I recognize that we're not out of the forest yet.
Yeah.
And that there's a need for us to be rightly connected with God, and that is seeing things from his perspective.
Okay, to that point, it provokes a couple of questions. Do you think God gave us a reprieve? And number two, do you think the average American church understands that this reprieve provides an opportunity, and are we prepared for it?
Wow. Did he give us a reprieve? Gee whiz, I'm still processing that, quite frankly, because I need to tell you that I'm somewhat disappointed in Donald Trump, President Trump, when he was running for office. There's two things that caused me pause. He changed his position on abortion, and he changed the platform of the GOP on that very issue. And he seemed to embrace same-sex marriage. He affirmed it. Those two areas give me pause. Now, in terms of what he's doing from a political perspective and what he's doing to address the issue of economy and the strategy that he has of making America great, on the surface sounds good. But I ask the question, and I'll ask the question of your listeners who are excited about what's happening. Can America be great when we're still slaughtering babies? Can America be great when we're still embracing same-sex marriage as an acceptable practice, when those two realities are an affront to the living God? I can't celebrate that.
Okay, so
and I challenge the evangelical community that we must stand firm on those two issues, and we must hold President Trump accountable and bring it to him again and say, we cannot support you on this issue. These issues are an affront. They are offensive to God.
I'm so glad you said that. And trying to figure out his strategy, there's a couple things here. He has reached in and pardoned some pro-life protesters. This morning at the National Prayer Breakfast, he announced a faith commission to protect religious freedoms and religious rights. And his attack on wokeness, and especially men and girls sports, LGBTQ movement, seems to be unprecedented. I'm wondering if this, and I pardon the pun here, but I'm wondering if this is just Trumpism, where he goes out on a limb to create the argument to get what he really wants. Do you see any ray of hope there?
Well, first of all, I celebrate those moves. I do, because I think it's a step in the right direction. But again, Donald Trump is a smart and intelligent man, and he is a politician and a businessman, and he knows what he's doing. So we've got to process it. We got to look at it and process it through the lens of our faith, and at the same time, recognize that we're living in a time of great deception and delusionment. The Bible warns us that in the last days that there will be a deceiving spirit to go out. We've got to protect ourselves from that. And if in fact this is a ploy on his part to manipulate us to support him on other things, then that's not kosher. That's not good.
Yeah.
But we still got to hold him to the fire on this. And I think the way to do that is that we've got to remind him, thank you for what you're doing, but here's this issue. Child killing in America has been codified in over 30 states right now, have amended their constitution to allow child killing in America. 30 states, that's only 20 that's left. And during the last election cycle, there were 10 or rather 14 states that had the issue of amending their constitution on ballot. Of the 14, 12 amended, and they codified child killing.
Yeah.
Florida was one that did not, and I think there was one other state that didn't do it, and I think there was something in Nebraska where they did something, but it wasn't really stopping the practice of abortion. So we still got a long ways to go.
Yeah. Thank you. Thank you for bringing that back into focus, and thank you for your conviction and passion on that, Pastor. It is a subtle reminder. I know we celebrated Roe versus Wade, but the battles went to the state, and I don't know if the citizens of the state were prepared for that battle, because this codifying continues to go on. But that brings me back to something we said right at the top of our conversation. And I'm trying to think how to frame this question, but let me try it by saying, do you think, as believers, somehow we got disconnected from the transcendence of God?
I would say absolutely. The problem is that we've been distracted in America. And there's so many voices that are competing for our attention and our time that we're no longer listening to the voice of God. I think the last time you and I were together, I talked about the event that took place at the Mount of Transfiguration in the scriptures, where Jesus revealed his deity to these men. And a voice came out of heaven and it said, "This is my beloved Son, in whom I am well pleased. Listen to him." The Greek word there, listen, means hearken unto. I happen to believe that we're living in a time right now that we need to be especially listening to the voice of God. But we're being, there's a competition for our attention in the public square. Politics, Hollywood, sports, the American dream. There's all kinds of voices that are competing for our attention. And unfortunately, the church is anemic and have been pushing a message that is the antithesis of the priority of the kingdom. For the last 20 to 30 years, we've been naming it and claiming it, believing it and receiving it, calling it and hauling it, and we've turned God into a genie in the Bible, and we're not listening to him. Jesus says, seek first the kingdom of God, and that priority has been marginalized to the voices of the American dream, what's happening with the Republican versus the Democrats. I mean, your last guest was able to articulate very well what has happened in America in terms of the cultural crises that we're facing and how there are philosophies that are driving where we're going as a nation. And the Bible says very clearly in Colossians chapter 2 and verse 8, see to it that no one takes you captive through philosophies, traditions of men, the elementary principles of the world, rather than according to Jesus Christ. The church in America is anemic. Its influence is small. It does not have the power and potency that it had at the onset of this nation. And I heard your guest say, and I think you raised the question, that there's a bunch of young people who are turning now, he called it the I generation, that are turning to Christianity or seeking spiritual or religious experience.
Right. My
God, they're in trouble if they're turning to the church right now, who's naming it and claiming it and coming up with all kinds of philosophies that are antithetical to the scriptures. They're in deep water because the traditional fundamental truth that is preached through the word of God is scarce and hard to find in America today.
Wow. I'm going to let that settle. I'm not going to comment. Let me take a quick break. Let me say to our viewers and listeners, Pastor Broden has a couple of websites, contentofcharacterseries.com and destroythedemocraticparty.com. And check out his book, Pawns of Change. And there's a picture of the cover. We'll be right back.
Worried that inflation might burst your retirement bubble? I'm Michelle Slate, Lighthouse Financial shines guiding light on retirement, investing, and insurance. Helping you navigate the stormy seas of retirement, Lighthouse stands tall as a beacon of hope, offering you wise counsel and biblically responsible investing. Lighthouse Financial. Call us today, 541-494-1034.
Spring is around the corner and summer is on its way. With fire danger biting at its heels, flammable blackberries and underbrush will grow like gangbusters and sprout fire danger in no time. A wise property owner knows the best time to take care of fire danger is to extinguish it before it gets started. GMV Forestry, LLC can help you protect your property with adequate firebrush clearing to fireproof a zone around your precious property. With over 35 years experience, GMV Forestry LLC has the knowledge, experience, and all the equipment you need to get the job done right, offering a wide variety of services like mulching, field mowing, snow removal, driveway clearing, ditch cleaning, gravel delivery and spreading, driveway sweeping, logging, and more. GMV Forestry LLC does it all, and they do it right. GMV Forestry LLC, the team you can trust. 541-660-6445. 541-660-6445.
Christ belongs to all people. He belongs to the whole world.
For 60 years, Billy Graham and his team took the message of Christ to the world.
Have you been born again?
Telecasts of Billy Graham crusades continue to reach millions with the gospel.
If you repent, he will forgive.
Relive these moments on Billy Graham Classics.
Jesus said, "Follow me. Come and change the world with me."
Billy Graham Classics, Fridays on the Dove TV.
Okay, welcome back. Such an honor to have back with us Pastor Stephen Broden. What an honor. He's senior pastor of the Fair Park Bible Fellowship in Dallas. He's the executive director of the Content of Character series, which you can go to contentofcharacterseries.com. He's co-founder of the National Black Pro-Life Coalition, and he has a great book out called Pawns of Change, and there's a picture of the cover of the book on the screen. And he also has a new website out, DestroyTheDemocraticParty.com. Pretty passionate. Pastor Broden, I'm trying to process my own heart here this morning. I want to stay on the transcendence of God just for a moment, only because I'm really concerned if the American church is prepared to take hold of the opportunity that's been given to us now and to see whether or not we actually see a harvest field or are we just looking for convenience. I've pulled back from a lot of public speaking because in my experience, I realize people are looking for conversation that confirms their thinking rather than challenges their faith. That doesn't make me superior. It's just that I'm not prepared to water something that would be a gray area of interpretation of Scripture. And the point being is, I'm wondering if we who do public speaking, whether a pastor, an evangelist, or otherwise, are we biblically based?
I hope, I believe that there's always a blessed remnant, and you're a part of that, Perry, that what you're doing here on your show is an opportunity to communicate the urgency of the hour, the necessity for us to be rightly connected with God, and allowing Him to speak to us through His holy word. You want to know what God is doing? You got to spend time in the Word of God. And I just talked with a friend, and I told her, you got to make time and take time to listen to God. And the only place you can listen to Him is in the Word of God. Open the Bible, spend time in the Word of God. God's purposes will be fulfilled. Isaiah 46 says this. He says, I will accomplish my purpose and establish my good pleasure. That's the sovereignty of God. And we cannot judge what God is doing and the effectiveness of what God is doing based upon what we see with the physical eye. For God is greater than the physical eye, and He's using the circumstances within human history to accomplish His purpose. So all things, negative and positive, are working and moving towards the ultimate purpose of God, which is what? To be glorified by His creation. and glorified by us. That's going to happen. And so it's not what we see that matters, it's who we know. God is greater than what we know. And so we continue to do what God has told us to do. And our priority is the advancement of the kingdom of God. And so God's transcendence ought to be a demonstration through his people. An ocular expression of the transcendence of God is seen in Perry Atkins and Stephen Broden. That's where the transcendence of God is seen, in our reverence for him, in our worship for him, in our obedience to him, and doing what he has called us to do. That's where Jesus is seen. So we've got to do what God has called us to do. And I'm doing it every day. And I trust that you're doing the same. Part of what we're doing, if you don't mind, if I introduce this website,
sure,
Destroying the Democrat Party. In the last election cycle, I don't know if you know this or not, Randall Terry, who started Operation Rescue, ran for president of the United States, and I was his vice president candidate on the Constitution Party. And we ran not to win. We ran our campaign to put the message of child killing in the front of America.
Yeah.
And we did. Over 45 to 50,000 eyes saw our advertisements. And we advertised, and some of your people who are watching the show may have seen some of those advertisements.
Right. Mm-hmm.
Well, our goal was to destroy the Democrat Party, to stop Kamala Harris and to destroy the Democrat Party. That's a long-term project. We're engaged again. There are 2 openings for representatives in Florida, District 1 and District 6. Randall is running in District 6 for a representative, and I am running in District 1, not to win, but to get our message about child killing out to America, and that we need to stop it, stop the slaughter, and destroy the Democrat Party, who is the fountainhead, the fortress of evil in America, the source to which this killing is happening. So the website has a number of my ads that are already running, and we need to have support. So I'm asking your listeners to make a contribution. Go to Destroy the Democrat Party, www.Destroy the Democrat Party, and make a financial contribution. Any size would help. And we're buying ads all over northern Florida, southern Florida, and the districts that Matt Gaetz had goes into Mississippi. I think it goes into a little bit into Georgia. So we're running ads all over, but we need your support. Not to win, but to get the message out. God says we need to be, wise as serpent and gentle as doves. So we're using the platform of the political party to run our ads.
Beautiful. It's called DestroyTheDemocraticParty.com. So, Pastor Broden, do you think in our attempt to be graceful, not only has moved into the area of condonement of things that are non-biblical, but has ignored evil?
Right. I think you're spot on. These questions are great. When we see churches in America who are gay affirming, when we see churches who are ordaining women against the directives of scriptures to preach and pastor churches, we're seeing a church that is no longer listening to the voice of God. They are rather bowing down to political correctness. And so what we have is a church that is no longer listening to God, but listening to the culture and adjusting to the culture, when we should stand as a representative of kingdom principles and the purpose of God in our pulpits and in our churches. That's not happening to the extent that it should. And I would say it is because what Jesus says, there are hirelings in the church. False prophets who are in the church. Here's what Timothy says, 1 Timothy chapter 4 and verse 1. The Spirit expressly says that in the latter days, some will fall away from the faith, paying attention to deceiving spirits and doctrines of demons. And that's precisely what is happening. That when you look in the church, you're going to see some wheat, but growing among the wheat are tares, and the tares are growing right beside the wheat. They look like wheat, they sound like wheat, but they're tares. And they're misleading the church, representing lies within the church. One that I just came across, two of them just recently. There's a preacher out of Atlanta in one of the largest black churches in Atlanta that says that the Holy Spirit is a woman. Then there's a church here in Dallas, Texas, and if I called the name, you would know exactly who it is. The big church got Potter in the name, says that Adam is the mother of Eve, that he birthed Eve, then married her and gave her children. That stuff is not in the scriptures. There is a deceiving spirit that is in the world today and is coming even out of the church. In order for us to protect against it and protect ourselves and the church from it, you've got to be grounded in the Word of God. You got to know it.
Amen to that. Quite the discussion over the weekend through all the social medias of a pastor preaching that Mary never was a virgin.
Yeah. This stuff is in the church. Those are tares. You and I identify who they are right away. But these young people, the I generation, what do you call them? The I generation, they're coming up. They don't know. They don't know that gay affirming is an anathema in the scriptures. The Bible says very clearly, drunkards and the effeminate and homosexuals will not inherit the kingdom of God. They don't know that because they don't know the Word of God. And it's not being preached except for in churches like mine. And there's not many of us.
Yeah. Pastor, you're such an inspiration. I wish I had you for another couple hours. I really don't. But let me just say to our viewers and listeners, well, first of all, a couple of websites, contentofcharacterseries.com. That's so well done. And there's so much there. Check that out. And then now, as he is running for an office, not to win, but to advance the importance of stopping baby killing in the United States, go to destroythedemocraticparty.com. I'm so thankful for you sticking your neck out like this. So this is so good. So go to destroythedemocraticparty.com. Pastor Broden, 30 seconds. What hope do you have for us?
Well, discernment.
Okay.
Hebrews chapter 5, verse 14 says this: solid food is for the mature, who through practice have their senses trained to discern good and evil. This is a time of discernment, and we need to discern, not get so caught up in what Donald Trump is doing, and it's exciting to see it, but always process it through what is God saying.
Thank you, brother. Thank you, brother. Thank you. Appreciate you. Appreciate you. Look forward to more visits. God bless you, pal.
Thank you, sir.
The Lennox iComfort S30 thermostat can sense changes in your environment. It even knows when you come and go. So now your home's most important system is also the smartest.
Metal Masters can give you the smartest home comfort system available. It knows when you're away and adjusts